You know, I saw something last night that was pretty cool. And no, it wasn't the NBA Finals. That thing's a train wreck. That thing's unwatchable. I saw something really cool last night. But as we always do, we start the program off with Big Sills. Guys are killing it. You had a great day yesterday. Let's see if we can get to 200 again. Yesterday, you guys got to 300 by the end of the program. I'm talking like Super Chats go to the front, and we welcome everybody aboard as we do each and every single day. We thank you. I know there's a lot of options out there, but you come here each and every single day to choose us. You see, I'm going to talk to you like a champion now. I heard it last night, and I saw a quote today by A.J. Owens. Oh, it was wonderful. I want to be the very best offensive player in the league. I want no doubt that I will be the best offensive player. That's my goal. I heard Tom Brady last night when they retired his number in his jersey. And I was listening to Brady, and I wrote a couple notes down here that I think A.J. Brown should take a listen to. You don't have to be special. You just have to do the things that people are unwilling to do. Be consistent. Work your ass off. Willing to work. And willing to stay focused. Team accomplishments outweigh any individual achievement. That's how you become a champion. That guy will never talk like that. And that kind of reminds me of the 2023 Philadelphia Eagle offense. Individual achievement outweighed team success. There lies your issue. Brady put it on display last night. Everybody had individual achievement, but you didn't have a team accomplishment. I don't think you can get any simpler than that. Broke records, 8th in the NFL in offense. Everyone got contract raises. Everybody had an individual year, but the team accomplishment failed. Right? That's one of the best. I wish we could play that, and I think we probably could. Couldn't we, Xander? I got it on my phone here. It's off the Patriots Twitter. It's public now. And I think if we addressed it, I'd love to play it. Of Tom Brady talking about team achievements. Can I play it, Xander? I mean, because I don't want to get us flagged or anything right out of the gate here. It's really awesome to hear this. I should have brought this up sooner. It's on the Twitter page. It's just right here. I mean, he was just talking about individual achievement. It's on the Patriot Twitter. And give Patriots credit. I'd love to just push this and just listen to it. Yeah, hey, Flexen says he watched it earlier. Let's see what Xander says, because I don't want to get us in trouble here right out of the gate here. Go for it. Okay. I want you to hear this. Coming from the GOAT of winning.
Tackle. Hit kids when they're
It's about playing football.
I would encourage everyone to play football for the simple reason that it is hard. It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eat pancakes. It's hard when you're on your way to practice, weighed down with all your gear, and it's 90 degrees out and all the other kids are at the pool or at the beach, and your body is already completely exhausted from workouts in 2 days. It's hard to throw, catch, block, and tackle and hit kids when they're way bigger and way more developed than you, only to go home that night bruised and battered and strained, but knowing you have to show up again the next day for just the chance to try again. But understand this, life is hard. No matter who you are, there are bumps and hits and bruises along the way. And my advice is to prepare yourself, because football lessons teach us that success and achievement come from overcoming adversity, and that team accomplishment far exceeds anyone's individual goals. To be successful at anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't. Consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. No shortcuts. If you look at all my teammates here tonight, it would be impossible to find better examples of men who embody that work ethic, integrity, purpose, determination, and discipline that it takes to be a champion in life.
You think that 23 Eagle team had those intangibles? You think that 2023 Eagle team had the intangibles on what he was talking about to be a champion? Not even remotely close to it. He embodies exactly what happened last year to the Eagles. It was all individual achievement. And it nothing to do with team. Nothing. So when people on my network, people on the radio are talking about, well, there's a lot of talent on that team. Oh, there are a lot of champions on that team. You think there's people with championship pedigree on that team? You ever wonder when you look at the Patriots back in the day, you just looked at them and you went, that's not a great roster. But it's a bunch of guys that are committed. Okay? It's just about being committed. He's right, dude. He's right. You don't have to. In any way. By the way, look at M. Reyes. Oh, shit, 23, and I never mind. Oh, because I'm sure you eradicated it, and you've got a champion. By the way, we got a topic on this. And I'm going to tie it all into moving forward here. You see, M. Reyes is exactly what the topic is going to be about, because he's one of them. M. Reyes is one of them. I'm not sure he's wrong. But the one thing is for sure, 2023 showed us exactly what Brady was talking about. No commitment, not working hard. You don't have to be special, folks. Kansas City Chiefs offense is not special. The quarterback and the coordinator are. The rest of them are not special. Travis Kelce, okay. Claude Humphrey, yeah, okay. But that's not a special roster compared to the Philadelphia Eagles. They got championship pedigree now. That's an intangible that is developed, not just wanting it. Okay? I wanted to start the program off with that because it's going to go right into the topic here. And here's M. Reyes right here. Oh, geez. 23. Okay. You heard Brady talking about intangibles on being a champion. I've never heard A.J. Brown talk like a champion. He's a great football player. I hear a lot of these diva wide receivers. None of them talk like champions. None of them talk like champions. They talk about getting their targets and numbers and their salaries. Look at CeeDee Lamb. You think he's talking about cohesiveness, hard work, being a champion? No. So it goes, and it's par for the course for that position. So I get it. Okay? Don't tell me that team of superstars and TB with Brady gave a fuck about the team. They were all me. That's absolutely one of the most obnoxious things you can hear anybody say. Look at how many players the Indianapolis Colts had on it compared to the Brady team. There's not one Hall of Famer he played with at the skilled positions in his entire 20 years that won a Super Bowl that will go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame outside of Gronk. That's it. No one else. In his 20 years, Brady never played with a Hall of Fame talent that won him a title. Ever. Ever in New England. And Antonio Brown is not going to the Hall of Fame. He never played in New England with one Hall of Fame player, except for Gronk, that won a title. That's it. There weren't Hall of Fame players on that team. Look at Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne's up for the Hall of Fame, Edgerrin James, Marshall Faulk, Hall of Fame coach, and Tony Dungy. That guy played with 10 times the talent. Same O-line for a decade. Randy Moss never won a championship in his entire career. I think, quite frankly, that's exactly. Aaron Hernandez is not a Hall of Famer. They can't listen carefully, Flexen. They can't, and I'm not repeating it. You'll have to go back and watch it. Never played with anybody who will ever go to the Hall of Fame in New England outside of Rob Gronkowski. And that won a championship. Ever. Think about that. No receivers, no running backs, Gronk and him. Look at the titles that guys that potentially could go to the Hall. You had 2 Hall of Fame offensive tackles. Gronk is the only one. Exactly. Brady's that guy. He is that guy. Not the question. Seals, you're all right. TB12 did not play with Hall of Fame talent, but he was coached, okay? Played NFL war games with the greatest coach in the NFL. Great coaching trumps great players. You heard what Brady said. You don't have to be special. You just have to be committed. Well, there's one thing for sure. That football team last year in Philly was not committed. Was not committed. Okay? Well, you said Tampa? Hey, fantastic. I wasn't talking about Tampa. I said New England. He was retired last night, number 12 in New England, not in South Florida. Or not in Tampa, I should say. He was retired last night in New England at Foxborough. Let's stay on the topic here. Try to, at least. Try to listen a little bit. Okay? Okay. So, let's start it out with this. And we'll do M. Reyes here. Because he kind of goes right into the topic. Actually, the reverse of what Brady was talking about. Okay? Bro, you all sound crazy. It starts with the top down. You need a coach that embodies those behaviors, and the players will follow suit. You need direction. Wait, I thought Belichick I thought it was all Brady up there, Prince. Prince, I thought it was all Brady. I love what Brady said last night, too. You hear what he said? Wasn't you, coach. Wasn't me. It was us. Do you think the Eagles act like that and have that mentality in that so-called great Eagle locker room? Do those guys talk like it's us when the quarterback and the coach can't even be on the same page? For a teed up question, they can't even get on the same page. Coach, wasn't you, wasn't me, it was us. The Philadelphia Eagles can't get their quarterback and their coach on the same page to even answer a fucking question. That has not, they don't look like champions. They don't act like champions. They act like individual stars that get their money, get their numbers, and that's it. They can't even acknowledge one another. That's not hyperbole. That is exactly what we've been watching for the last month at least. Well, maybe even more, going back to 23. That team does not act like a champion. The quarterback doesn't even sound like that. Brady and him are so far removed from how you win a title. They'll never, until they get on that kind of boat and that kind of mentality. This is about mentality now. Prince is right. This is about having a coach. It starts from the top down and players follow. You are exactly right. How can you expect to be a champion when no one talks or acts like one? See, JM is so wrong. Prince is right. If you don't have people in the same locker room, I've been on championship teams. I know what that feels and looks like. And when you're in that environment on a championship team, you know what that looks like. You hear Brady talking. And I got the topic here. By the way, this is a really good topic here. Sorry, I just love how people are sleeping on other teams like the Cowboys, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. Until a team can beat the Super Bowl champions, my team is the Kansas City Chiefs. The one and only Ron the Don Smith. Hey, Don. Yes. Jalen has to be a better leader for sure. It's time. I agree, Sills. Yep. Sills, Brady was right. He couldn't do shit without a great team around him. Absolutely true. Had a great team around him. Do you know, get this, do you know that that's just a media way to attack a coach? Is to go through the quarterback. It's a great way to attack Belichick. It's low-hanging fruit. Well, he's nothing without Brady. Well, that's not how Brady thinks. Brady, that was from the heart last night, talking about how his teammates and them accomplished great team accomplishments. Those guys weren't talking individually. You see, media people have a mentality about themselves too, that their importance is more important than even what you think, and their words are more important than how you think and how their conversation lands to you. Remember something. These media people have massive egos, and they think they know better than you. Shit, you can watch our normal news cycle. They think they know better than you and that you're dumb and that you won't be able to figure out who to vote for in November. So what they do is they tell you dumb shit or fake news stuff, both sides, so that I know more than you. No, dude, don't tell me who to vote for. Don't tell me how to think. I'll do that for myself. And people get mad at you and me. You know why? Because we have a mind of our own. That's why they get mad at us. And you're called a conservative if you have a mind of your own. You know that? It has nothing to do. You may think some things on both sides, But if you have a mind of your own, shit. You believe in free speech? You know one thing you got to think about with Elon Musk? So the guy has electric cars. He believes in the environment. He's trying to do things to go to space. And like I said, he's doing things with solar power. And now he's trying with free speech with the X platform. And yet he's a scumbag. You got it blows your mind. What? I thought that is exactly what a non-conservative is. It's crazy. Free speech, and the guy believes in battery cars. But he thinks for himself. Brady has a PR team. JM is so out of touch with the reality. You think Tom Brady won Super Bowls with a PR firm? Does that guy look like he talks to his teammates through a PR firm? No, your quarterback in Philly has a PR firm. He's the guy that does that. He's the non-leader. He can't communicate. Hey, what do you make of your coach? I don't know. That guy I watched Tom Brady last night, and I'm going, man, let's just forget the 7 Super Bowls for a moment and just listen to him talking about his teammates. I've really never heard Jalen Hurts even give his teammates great kudos. Man, I'll tell you, AJ's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like Devontae Smith. Our offensive line is the best. Has he ever given any kind of love to anybody in the organization? Has he gone out of his way to even prop up some of the younger players? Or I've never heard him in any way throw any love or any flowers at anybody on the team. To who? I can't remember. Hey, AJ's a great player. I heard Brady last night talking about every single person on his football team. Okay? Just here. So let's get to the topic. You guys think so? You're not listening, Sills? I can't hear it. You're right. No, I can't hear it. Shit, he can't even say anything good about his coach. That guy has never said one word about his coach that's in the positive light, has he? Has Jalen Hurts ever said a positive thing about his coaching staff? As far as I'm concerned, he said that one comment about the inconsistency and wish he had it. Have you ever heard him talk about the coaching staff in a good light? Hey, they really did a great job game planning. You know, it was unbelievable. The plan was great. I thought how about this? When they beat Mahomes, you would have thought there would have been some love coming. Nope. Hey, Brian Johnson called a good game that game, didn't he? So let me ask the question then. Here's topic one. Sills once agreed that Barrett Brooks, Eagles should bring in Deshaun Watson over letting Jalen Hurts prove himself. Well, Jalen Hurts is back to proving himself for us still. He's in the same boat the guy in Cleveland's in right now. What happened? Jalen Hurts hasn't proven himself. He's proven to be inconsistent. And if you don't have the proper coach around him, he can't do it. That's my takeaway from him. Those are facts. Okay? Here's the first topic. Do the Eagles deserve the benefit of the doubt from 23? And why? Why do they deserve the benefit of the doubt? Why do they deserve the benefit of the doubt? Name a player who can succeed without a proper coach. Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and Michael Irvin. Won a Super Bowl with Barry Switzer. I don't think Barry Switzer is going to be knocking on any doors for any NFL Pro Football Hall of Fame. Joseph said because they're the Eagles. No, because they didn't bring the staff back. They cut bait and started over. They don't deserve it because that was the first time they faced adversity and they crumbled under its pressure. Doubt new year, new team. There's nothing to doubt. Why? You didn't doubt 23? That it's not going to be the same? Why do they look as good as your 22 year was as awful as your 23 year? Right? Why do they deserve the benefit that this thing's going to get turned around? Seals isn't wrong, but Jalen has reached the mountaintop. Just didn't plant the flag. Deshaun still hasn't won much. Dude, Forest Hill, Jalen Hurts going to a Super Bowl is one of the most overrated metrics that you can possibly give a quarterback. I can name you some of the shittiest quarterbacks on the planet and some of the greatest quarterbacks on the planet. Did you not hear Brady? This is a team effort. And if you don't have a team built around you, you can be Brad Johnson and go to a Super Bowl and win it, and you can be Warren Moon and a Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame player, and never get to one. You're missing the point again, and this is why 23 was about individual achievements in Philadelphia and not about team accomplishments. You are answering this, do they deserve the benefit of the doubt question, and I'm sad to hear it said this way. Look at Eagle fan. Screw Brady, he's gone. You're lucky he's gone. Because going to a Super Bowl is very easy, right? No. But that's not the metric you gauge great quarterbacks on. So Jimmy Garoppolo and Colin Kaepernick are great quarterbacks? I am tired of that metric. Well, Jalen took the team to the Super Bowl. I could name you 100. Jake Delhomme took a team to a Super Bowl. Is he great too? If you're using that metric and calling him great, he's not great. It's a team accomplishment. So wait, Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Phillip Rivers. Neil O'Donnell is a better quarterback than Warren Moon. Is that correct? Who's the other guy they had in Pittsburgh take a team to the Super Bowl? The dual threat guy from Colorado that took a team to the Super Bowl. Cordell Stewart. You're telling me Cordell Stewart is a better quarterback than Dan Fouts? Is that crazy? So your metric is, well, Jalen went to the mountaintop. That makes him a superior player to Josh Allen and any of these other guys. It's the dumbest shit going. Hey, I'll tell you this. More people around the league have as great and more respect for Kirk Cousins than they do a lot of quarterbacks in this league. And I'm not saying you have more respect for Cousins over Jalen. But I'm saying there's more respect for that guy down in Atlanta than you think. And I got 200 million reasons why I'm telling you that at 36 years old. It's crazy. Every time I hear, well, Jalen took a team to the Super Bowl. So did Jake Delhomme. So did Colin Kaepernick. So did Jimmy Garoppolo. What is that? So did Carson Wentz help you win home field advantage? I mean, you're covering. That's right. I saw somebody say you're covering for deficiencies with the 22 Super Bowl and his inability to be a quarterback who can read defenses. Rex Grossman, very good, another guy that got to a Super Bowl. Are you truly telling me that because, like Jalen, got to the Super Bowl in the pinnacle, that Rex Grossman is better than Phillip Rivers or Warren Moon or Dan Fouts or even Kirk Cousins? It's the dumbest shit going. I hear people do that. We got to the Super Bowl. That's not, dude, I'm not saying it's not a great team achievement, but that's not a Jalen Hurts achievement. That's a team accomplishment, what Brady was talking about. Look at this. So look to JM's point. So Stam Humphries, who got to a Super Bowl with the Chargers, is a better quarterback in some of your line of thinking than Dan Fouts and Phillip Rivers, right? Stan Humphries. That Charger team, Bobby Ross coach, got blown out by the Niners. He's a better quarterback because he got to a Super Bowl. Okay. Steve says Jim McMahon, Josh Allen. Jim McMahon never played one season in his entire football career that he didn't miss a game or multiple games, not even remotely in the room. And I'm not even talking skill set wise. I'm talking just durability. He never in his entire career, McMahon, ever played a full season. Let's just go there with availability. Why does Sills address the headline? Isn't that you can talk? Dude, I was talking about Tom Brady and you giving him the team the benefit of the doubt. Tell me why you should give this Eagle team the benefit of the doubt when the head of the snake is still there. Why? I'll land on it. Why should you give him the benefit? Hey, dude, you've been to 3 straight years. You got some ammo. Well, Sills, we've been to 3 straight playoffs since we've implemented this way of thinking. I mean, albeit they're 2-3 in the postseason, but we did win an NFC title game as a unit, and we did get to a Super Bowl as a team. Don't you think we should get the benefit of the doubt in 23? There's a part of me that goes, you know, they've got ammo. I mean, they have ammo. Hey, Big Trag, I get it. He's still there with nothing to do. It's kind of like he's in the house and you're like, why is this guy still a house guest? I thought he was leaving last week. Like Nick Sirianni's like a house guest. Okay, I mean, yeah, Jeff Hostetler's another guy that won a Super Bowl. Jeff Hostetler is better than Phil Simms. Okay. Yeah, all right. Sure. Again, every single time, it's the only thing that the Eagle had. Because how about this? Let's do this. Let's take all Super Bowl appearances away from all quarterbacks in the National Football League's history. And you take that out of Jalen Hurts and Tom Brady's even. How's Jalen Hurts' career been without the Super Bowl appearance? What would you say to that? What would you say to that? Hey, Waldo Vision, that's not horrible, that take. That's not horrible. Guys, please hit the like button. I appreciate it. Conversation today, my friends. If you take the Super Bowl appearance by the team accomplishment away, okay? So are you suggesting to me, Martin, when you watch Joe Burrow throw a pass from the pocket and how he goes through his old progressions, that you would take Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow? Are you suggesting that? Okay. The only problem that I would say is that Jalen has him over consistency on being healthy. He's by far more healthier. That I give you. There's another one, Trent Dilfer. Those are team accomplishments making it to the Super Bowl. Now, if you become the MVP like Nick Foles and outplays Brady, he accomplished something by outplaying the guy on the other side, which is insane. Get to the game. Foles took it apart. That was arguably one of the greatest performances I'd ever seen in quarterback play, was what Foles did in that Super Bowl against Belichick, against Brady, and all them guys. Football team that is almost second to none. And they ripped a new one in them. Hey, I'll say this one more to you, man, about Nick. I have never seen a team make the New England Patriots put up the white flag and wave for surrender. He was insanity. That was one of the absolute greatest Super Bowl performances. Calm under pressure, everything you want in a guy at that moment. It was one of the greatest 60 minutes of play of quarterbacking I've ever seen. And I mean all of them. And in that game and in that moment, you could put him against anybody. Like, who had a better performance? Maybe the Sims performance against the Broncos when he was like 22 or 26 or some shit like that. He missed 4 passes. It was something crazy where the Giants beat the Broncos in Pasadena. He was just insane. It was one of the greatest performances I've ever seen. That Brady performance that he had against the Rams when he drove them down with seconds left in the ball game. Vinatieri kicked a field goal, and they ended up winning that Super Bowl. I think it was their first one. That was absolutely a great performance late in that ball game. Chris Chandler has been to a Super Bowl. Congratulations, Jalen. Again, it's the worst metric you can ever use when you're talking about, do you have an elite quarterback or not? And I hear everyone do it. And I'm like, I can name you people. It's a team accomplishment. Brady was talking that last night. It's why we opened the program out with it. The Eagles a year ago were not a championship team. They didn't talk or act like one. Everyone got paid. And now we're given the benefit of the doubt. Okay? Why? And again, like I said, you've got pads to land on. 3 straight playoffs, dude. Dan, if you think 23 was so bad, we did win 11 games. I mean, quarterback didn't play well. He was third in turnovers. Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Nick's 34-17. Shouldn't a guy like that get the benefit of the doubt? Well, when Doug only won 4 games, you guys didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. You fired him. Doug didn't get a chance to dig his way out of it. Maybe the Eagles don't. I don't know why the Eagles didn't give Doug a chance to turn it around, but they're giving Nick to win 2 or 3 more games. Like when you're the Eagles, let me ask you this. It's a pretty great conversation. I didn't think of this angle. So when the Eagles were bringing him back, Sirianni, and they had decided to fire Doug, think about what they did. They fired Doug, knowing full well he had accomplished something by winning a Super Bowl, and he'll always go down as a Super Bowl champion coach. You really think that the front office really thinks that Nick is a better coach than Doug, and that Doug or that Nick is a coach that's going to win a Super Bowl for you? Does that guy look like a Super Bowl champion coach? Let's think about the coaches that have won it. Brian Billick. And I'm talking about not the frontline guys like Shula or Noel. Brian Billick. Tomlin's got one. John Harbaugh's got one. Tony Dungy's got one. Hank Stram's got one. Let's see. Mike Shanahan's got two. Mike Holmgren's got one. Does Nick Sirianni fall in that line with those names? Like, when you think of coaches that have won Super Bowls, does Nick Sirianni's name pop into your mind? Tom Coughlin, even. Sure. Coughlin should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Bill Cowher. Does Nick Sirianni's name? So when they were deciding to bring him back, they looked at him and went, yeah, he falls in the line of what I think is a guy who can deliver me a Super Bowl. Like, when I look at Eric Spoelstra, and believe me, I was down there when they named him head coach. I think it was after Van Gundy. I think they blew Van Gundy out, put him in there. And I was like, they put a guy from the video department in the head coaching position. Eric Spoelstra's the best coach in the NBA now. You know why? He was groomed by Riley. He knew what he was looking at. You think the Eagles really know what they're looking at when it comes to championship coaches when you fire two of them and you keep one that, for whatever reason, he more follows suit to how you do business than how you win games? It's crazy thinking. I get the whole Andy was out of gas. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying you had a mentality that my way of doing business, because Xander and I talked about this yesterday. They're more comfortable with the way Doug runs their team, not his team, their team, than what Doug was, because they don't know if he's a championship NFL head coach. They know their system has been to 2 Super Bowls in 6 years and their way of thinking. So it's not important if he's a championship coach or not. That's why they can move off of Reed and Doug. When they look at coaches in Philly, they don't look. And what Prince said is the most important thing. It starts from the top down. And everyone buys in. You're dead on, Prince. You're dead on. You're dead on. There is no question about it. It's lack of team continuity. No matter how many players they put in that huddle, until that team starts acting like a champion, they'll never, ever, ever win a championship again. Let me tell you something. You know, as significant as that Philly call was, the coach looked at him, players suggested it, and they looked at one another and went, run it. You can't be any more involved with one another and on the same page with one another in that brief ego moment that will go down etched in history as one of the greatest team moments I've ever seen. Foles gets in the huddle. The players must have went, what? And they ran it in the Super Bowl to perfection. That's team accomplishment. I'll tell you one thing that 17 team had that 22 team and the 23 team will never have. They put individual team accomplishments or individual accomplishments to the side and they put team accomplishment. And the quarterback scenario can't be any more different than that. And it can't embody that anymore. Hey, Wentz got us here, next guy up. We're going to rally around our team. They weren't just rallying around Nick. They were rallying around the entire unit. And you had coaches, right, JM, in the place that accentuated that exact thought. Howie, get this. Do you really think that Howie Roseman had any influence in 2017 in the coaching staff and the direction of the team and the way that they would go on and win that Super Bowl? You guys have been telling me they'd win a game against Atlanta 17-14, and they have the powwow meetings on Monday or Tuesday where he had to explain why they won a game by 7 points or 3 points. Gives a shit. Get out of Dodge, get the win, move on. It was just I can tell already. Because look, 17 wasn't as talented as the 22 team. It's one of the greatest rosters I've ever seen. But it didn't have championship mentality. You know what? Here, I'll say this to you about San Francisco. I think San Francisco, they learned a lesson. If there's two things that you are taking away the last two Super Bowls from when it comes to the two, hey, would we not agree? The two best rosters, many people's eyes, in the league belong to the 49ers and especially on offense to the Eagles, right? And you can't beat Kansas City. Do you understand? No matter what you do, no matter how much money you spend, it's got nothing. It has a lot to do with the quarterback and the coaching. I give you that. But there's 22 guys that have to go out and play, not two. They're rowing in the same direction. Snead wanted more money. We don't do that here anymore. This is all about us. Balanced salary cap. Believing in the younger players. I'll tell you this too. Kansas City's got balls. They move off the best corner in the league because they believe in the guys they drafted in the 3rd, 5th, and 6th round. Well, I get it. 15 gives you that, and you can afford to do that. Okay, again. So the benefit of the doubt, there's a part of me that says they should. They should. But, like I said, listening to Brady last night, the problem with 2023 team wasn't talent. It was a championship mentality. Could it have been what one of the guys said in here? That it was a hangover from the Super Bowl and that Super Bowl loss carried over? Most teams don't do well after winning a Super Bowl. We see that. It's chronicled. It's not something that's just conversation. We see that. Hey, by the way, let's do something positive here. For the Eagles to win 11 games after winning 14 and going to a Super Bowl where most teams have a nuclear meltdown, it's quite an accomplishment. It's a hollow accomplishment, but it's an accomplishment. How many teams have losing records and miss the playoffs? Right? Eagles winning 11 games in home field. The conversation, maybe winning the East. Hey, they fought. They fought because they were good, not because they were champions. Because at the end, that fell out. Follow this. The Eagles team is like a NASCAR team with no crew chief. You can have a good driver, Hurts, a great car, the roster, but the crew chief puts it all together. It's one thing Joe Gibbs believes at Joe Gibbs Racing. B. Costello said something here that is probably true. The NFC East is ours to lose. Well, it's been that way now going on 3 years. Yes, it is yours to lose. Yes. Sills, who do you have in the Super Bowl this year? I'm not there yet. Jalen wins like 3 Super Bowls. How about trying to win 3 games in a row again? Let's get there. Let's win Green Bay. Let's win Green Bay. Nostradamus, I like your love for it, but let's see. Okay. So I think I have to answer the question too. Sills, are you going to give the Eagles the benefit of the doubt? Am I going to give the Eagles the benefit of the doubt? I just don't like the outside stuff. If it was just the players, I would. But you're fighting a mentality of the front office not allowing people to do their jobs. I would listen, if this had a coach and this team has a coach or had a coach that had Mike Tomlin or John Harbaugh or Kyle Shanahan's power, I would. But because you don't, I can't. I can't give you the benefit. Like get this. Am I going to give the Cowboys the benefit of the doubt? No. Why? It's not because of Mike McCarthy. It's because of what Mike McCarthy can't do. It's because of what he can't do. You know what that is? Lead. Front office not letting people do their jobs is the American way. At most jobs. That's why there's not a lot of champions. Like Brady said last night, being a champion's hard. It's hard to be a champion. It's hard. He's right. Everybody in Philly got paid. Everybody got contract extensions. Everybody had career numbers. Team accomplishment was the sacrifice for it. How do you feel about that? Everybody got theirs except the team. You sacrificed team accomplishment in 23 for individual achievement. Am I wrong? How can that not be any more on display than the 2023 Philadelphia Eagles? The money speaks to it. The addition of Barkley speaks to it. Right? Get this. Shaquille. Contracts had nothing to do with what happened last year. Yes, it did. You're not going to give A.J. Brown $32 million if he puts up 900 yards. You're not going to give Devontae Smith $25 million a year if he puts up 600 yards and he's not consistent. You're not restructuring Jordan Mailata's contract if he gives up 6 sacks. You're not going to give a quarterback $50 million and pay him if he sucks. If Landon Dickerson stunk last year, he's not getting $20 million per. All the things they did last year got the contract raises. What do you mean it had nothing to do with it? Well, then what did? Okay, let's go down by your thinking. If last year had nothing to do with them getting paid, how'd they get paid then? They didn't win. Then how did they get paid? What, because the Eagles like them? How did they get paid? If you're saying last year had nothing to do with them getting paid, then what did? What did? Giving him the benefit. That's going to be a ringing theme. Career years, once again, Wayne, individual achievement over team accomplishment. Oh, they paid him for 22. That's what organizations do in businesses. Something you did 2 years ago, they pay you for. Now, well, how come that didn't apply to Reddick? Reddick's got 30 sacks in the last 2 years. How come that didn't apply to him? If there's anybody on defense that deserved that more, there was nobody on that football team defensively that deserved a pay raise more than Hassan Reddick. Why didn't they do that? Why? Reddick is still a no-show in New York, Sills. Got it? But like Xander said, so he wanted $5 million more. You got 27.7 now in the coffers there in Wally and Howie's pocket. Look at Dick Train. Howie, GM of the year already. New additions haven't played it down, but he's got him GM of the year. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out how old these guys are and how good they are. We sure will. No excuses. Absolutely. Sills, the organization loves their victory lap. Yeah, they're still on the 17th victory lap. The day after the parade, your lap is done. If you don't have a parade, there is nothing to brag about. Off-season champions. A Howie Bowl. Here's one thing to do, too. John McMullen and Xander were talking about it the other day about if you're content with just winning Super Bowls, you'll be miserable. That soundbite that I played you from, hey, Xander, put that up again for me, crediting the Patriots if you can, please. I want you to hear one thing again, okay? And I want you to tell me something. If this contradicts what John McMullen said about people being happy or being how a champion talks.
Everyone to play football for the simple reason that it is hard. It's hard when you're young to wake up in the off season at 6 a.m. to go train and work out, knowing that all your friends are sleeping in and eating pancakes. It's hard when you're on your way to practice, weighed down with all your gear, and it's 90 degrees out and all the other kids are at the pool or at the beach. And your body is already completely exhausted from workouts in 2 days. It's hard to throw, catch, block, and tackle, and hit kids when they're way bigger and way more developed than you, only to go home that night bruised and battered and strained, but knowing you have to show up again the next day for just the chance to try again. But understand this, life is hard. No matter who you are, there are bumps and hits and bruises along the way. And my advice is to prepare yourself, because football lessons teach us that success and achievement come from overcoming adversity, and that team accomplishment far exceeds anyone's individual goals. To be successful at anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't. Consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. No shortcuts. If you look at all my teammates here tonight, it would be impossible to find better examples of men who embody that work ethic, integrity, purpose, determination, and discipline that it takes to be a champion in life. I would encourage
You think that 23 team had that? What did he say? You have cheerleaders to back you. No, you have 7 Super Bowl rings to back you. Brady doesn't need anybody backing him. He has his teammates. He embraces team accomplishment, not individual accomplishment. Football is not anything to do with individual accomplishment. It has nothing to do with that. It's a byproduct of it. Of good coaching, great players around you. It has nothing to do with that. So when you hear A.J. Brown talking about wanting to be the greatest offensive weapon in the league and not talking about being a champion, that's ingrained in that position in the league today. It's not an A.J. Brown thing. That's why those wide receivers are constantly moved in their primes. Because they don't have that innate ability to think like a champion. None of them. Now, let me ask you this. Was that a successful year for A.J. Brown last year? 1,700 yards, $32 million contract, brand new extension. Is that a successful season? 11 wins? Who in their right mind wouldn't think it was? That guy. That guy would. Brady's the greatest 1-0 football player of all time. And what I mean by that is this guy doesn't add up his accomplishments. His next greatest moment is next. Those guys didn't get paid off of what they did a year ago. Well, it wasn't for winning. Do I think Jalen thinks like a champion? No. No, I do not. Because I'll tell you what, I heard something else with Belichick last night. Belichick, you know what was really cool to see? Belichick, Kraft, and Brady all burying the hatchet. Hey, Tom, you know, your teammates did so much for all of us. You did so much for the community, and you did so much for me. I just want to thank you. Bill Belichick thanking Tom Brady for the impact he had on his life. That was the first time I ever heard that. I thought that was great. Because they realized that taking a step back going, we needed one another. Kraft, Belichick, and Brady. In Philly, you don't have that dynamic. The Eagles don't need Sirianni. They don't need their coaching staff. That's why they're interchangeable. Xander asked the question. By the way, we'll have him on at 3:30. And we'll have Jason Cole, our NFL Hall of Fame insider, at 4:30. Asked the question, will the RPO be back? And then John McMullen said something, too, on Birds 365. You know what he said? He goes, well, it better be. You don't know that already? Jalen doesn't know that? On June 13th? If the RPO, now, it's OTAs and it's minicamp. The run game's not installed yet. So we're going to go July 25th. So July 25th, they'll start installing the run game. You'll have basically a month and a half to install the entire new offense with the run game and the complicated passing attack of Kellen Moore to go against Green Bay. Will you be ready? Will the RPO be back? Are you going to put it back in or not? Let's take a look at Jalen's last 3 years. 15 games, 139 attempts, 784. Look how effective he was, even in 2021. Guy had less carries, 784 yards, and 10 touchdowns. And here's the beautiful thing. Here's the number you got to look at. 5.6 a clip. Every time Jalen Hurts touched the football, 2 times, he got a first down for you. 2022, 165, he missed 2 games. He was on pace for about 190 carries. He would have eclipsed that. 760, 13 touchdowns, full yard down, 4.6 yards a carry. So he goes from 5.6 to 4.6. Not horrible. Last year, played all 17 games, right? 157 carries, 605, about 155 yards less, and about 200 yards less from the first time he took the reins as being a starting quarterback. 15 TDs because you didn't have a red zone back. 3.9 a carry. So every year that Jalen Hurts has been in a system in Philadelphia, the first two were RPO driven because we talked about it yesterday. They were Shane Steichen centric, right? Shane had 2 years, 4.6, 5.6. Okay. Averages out to about 5 yards a carry. 2 years under Shane. Okay. You get away from that, you're around 3.8. What's that tell you? They're moving away from it. Less carries, less yards per carry. Will the RPO be back? No. No. Okay? No. It won't be. Hit the like button for me here. I'm going to move on to the second topic. I'm not going to take a timeout, Xander. I'm going to build this thing up so that when we get down to the bottom of the hour here, because I want to bring this up, because it all kind of goes hand in hand here a little bit. I heard Jeff Kerr bring this up. I'm going to ask you something here. Now, there are about 28 players on the Eagles right now that are in expiring contracts or on 1-year deals. There's about 28. I didn't write all 28 of them down because some of them are going to be non-factors anyway. Okay? Some of them are going to be non-factors. Here's the topic. And I'm throwing this out at you, and you tell me if I'm wrong. The Eagles will never be consistent championship contending teams. I didn't say winning teams. I said championship teams. Is that fair? Is that fair? They can never be a championship football team. Or consistently one. I should say. Let's put it there. Not saying they can't win one, but to be a consistent championship team. How in the world can you have a consistently built championship football team when you've got 28 players on your roster, basically 30 players of the 60 of the 90 players you're going to camp with that are on expiring or 1-year contracts? You'll never be a championship contending football team on a year-to-year basis. Here are the players. Josh Sweat, probably gone. He's on a 1-year contract. Brandon Graham, out after this year. What are you going to do with Milton Williams? You know Milton Williams is on an expiring contract? What are you going to do with him? And you're starting him? So wait a minute. Milton Williams has an expiring contract. The Eagles aren't going to address that? What are you going to do with him? You're just going to let him go through the season and not address his contract? What are you going to do with Milton? Milton Williams has a expiring contract, and he's outperformed Jordan Davis. He outperformed him a year ago. So you're going to let him go through the season, get in the open market. Someone will pay him $15 to $20 million. Especially if he has a Pro Bowl season. Get this, Twiz doesn't think, even though Brian Baldinger and I both said Jordan Davis didn't deserve to be in a uniform last year at the end of the year, and Milton Williams was picking up all the heavy mail towards the end of the season for the team because he was the only guy really left, him and Fletcher. But he thinks that Jordan Davis has outplayed Milton Williams. When Milton Williams was a disgrace to be in an Eagle uniform in the last 6 weeks of the season. An out-and-out disgrace. Okay? A disgrace to be the 13th pick in the draft, making that kind of money. What are you going to do with Milton Williams? Are we just going to let him go through the year? That's right, Troy. Milton Williams, until other advertise, until Jalen Carter shows that he's the best tackle on your team right now. Well, Jalen Carter's got more potential. I didn't say he didn't. Potential? That means we haven't seen it. By the way, Jalen Carter was nothing to write home about. Last 7 games of the season for him also. So you're going to allow him to roll through the season. Okay. I think that's kind of an issue because I actually like the player. I actually like him. See, get this here. Seals, I think Howie will make a mistake if he lets Milton walk. I do too. They will sign him mid-year. Why would I do that? If I'm having an all-pro year and I've been backing up, hey, by the way, if I'm Milton Williams and I'm not starting this year, now I know why they have him in the starting role. Because if I'm Milton Williams, I'm not staying in Philly as a backup when I know full well I can go somewhere else and start on 95% of the teams. And the only reason you got me behind Jordan Davis is because you drafted him 13th. It ain't like he's outplaying me. They're kind of trying to coddle to him a little bit. And maybe they're giving him an opportunity to prove his worth too. Let's be fair to that. So there could be that also. I want to be fair to the front office in that. Naming him in the 34 look when they turn in the depth charts and his name is there. Hey, you want money? Prove it. Okay. Starter money versus potential money. You see, if he goes on the open market and he goes in as a backup, he ain't making 20. He's going to make 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there, but he ain't going to make the $25 million that you're seeing guys like Javon Hargrave sign. You're not going to get that. But if you're a starter and you're proving that you can be a frontline guy, I'll say this to you one more time about Milton Williams. You know, I had this conversation the other day with Xander. Let me say this to you. Do you know how insane it is what Milton Williams has done as a Philadelphia Eagle, that he has not lowered his value as a player since he's been drafted in the 3rd round? You could probably get a high 2 for him. And if he happens to play great this year, midseason, you could get a 1 for him. Try that as a backup. When you got a starter that if you want to put Jordan Davis on the open market now, you're not getting a 1st-round pick. You're not getting a 1st-round pick for Nolan Smith. You're not getting a 3rd-round pick for Nakobe Dean. You're not getting a pick for Eli Ricks. You're not getting anything near that, what those guys were drafted at. But Milton Williams has kept his value. Those are high-quality picks. When a guy who's been a backup for 2 years has kept his value. and you're allowing him to walk into a regular season. Now, look, I'm not saying they haven't addressed it, at least behind the scenes. That doesn't seem to be Howie's MO. Okay? I'm sure that the agent and them have addressed it. Now it makes sense a little bit more why I see his name up there and not Josh Sweat's name. Because they're hoping that Milton is the future. Damn, Sills, you think Milton is that good? I do. Furman. Now, again, Furman, let me throw this at you. Well, how do you know Isaiah Rodgers is that good? He wasn't a starter in Indy. He wasn't a consistent starter in Indianapolis. How do you know he's that good? What are you just guessing? Practicing in pajamas? Ricks was undrafted. Thanks, JM. You're right. Rodgers is not proven. He is not a proven player. That is not true. He was a special teams guy the majority of the time that he was there in Indianapolis. They liked him and saw true potential in him. Then the gambling thing hit. Absolutely true. Not proven. Absolutely not. You're telling me Isaiah Rodgers is a proven defensive corner for 17 weeks in this season? That is absolutely not true. Top-rated corner in 22. Okay. No, high grades in 22. But not a starter consistently. Don't fool yourself. Milton Williams is way better than Davis. Again, let's get back to him. Davis. What are you going to do with him? How about this one? Devin White's on a one-year deal. What if Devin White turns in a decent season? Do you bring him back? Or he's not coming back for $3 million if he has a decent year. He's not coming back for that. So there's one linebacker out the building. Let's just say he plays well. Let's say he plays well. He's not coming back for $3 million. And the Eagles are not going to pay it, so he's out. Zach Bond is on a one-year deal. So your two starting inside linebackers will be basically, if the season and you are saying that they'll play well, are gone. So Milton Williams in your starting front seven, Devin White and Zach Bond are all on expiring or one-year deals. How do you build consistency with that? How in the world can you build a consistent defense when you're already inside guys are right now question marks on if they're going to come back or not? And by the way, if they're so talented, why are they on 1 year? And why haven't they addressed Milton Williams' deal? How talented can you be? Shit, A.J. Brown had 2 years remaining on his contract. They addressed it. I'm not saying not rightfully so. I think Milton's been a hell of a player for them. And then when you lose Fletcher Cox in the process, you don't think that that would be something. Let's just say you sign him to a contract, you give him good money. I don't think it's a bad idea to have that guy on the roster next year if you draft another guy and he's your backup. That's not a horrible move. How in the world can you build consistency up? Get this. I'm pointing your own workout to you. There's 28 football players on the Eagles with expiring or one-year contracts. Jeff Kerr's right. Not a chance in hell you could build consistent championship football. Let me move on. The other guy they kind of like, Oren Burks, expiring or one-year contract. So all your backers that you brought in and supposedly Howie Roseman, general manager of the year, He's got to address all these guys, whether they're coming back next year or not. All based on one-year deals. How about this one? Let's say Micah Becton. God forbid one of the tackles goes down, plays Pro Bowl ball, which he's capable of. You're going to bring him back at $25 million? He's on a one-year contract. What are you going to do with him? Pay him? You didn't pay Isaac Seumalo. You're going to pay him and Milton? I mean, Milton won't be cheap. And Becton, if he plays to his capabilities, I didn't say you were losing all of them. I'll tell you what I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose Milton Williams, and I don't want to lose Micah Becton if that guy plays up to his ability. And those two guys are going to cost you about $35 million. I don't want to lose those guys. Where's Nick? Hey, Nick, Isaiah Rodgers is on a one-year contract. What are you doing with him? Huh? What? He's on a one-year expiring contract. What do you do with him? What if he starts? So, you're gambling with Milton Williams. You're gambling with Isaiah Rodgers. No pun intended. And Micah Becton. What if he stinks? Howie's trying to have his cake and eat it. What if he stinks? Never build a consistent championship roster this way. Ever. Avonte Maddox's problems have nothing to do with ability. Unfortunately, that sucks. This guy could leave the NovaCare Center injured by just getting into his car. I get that. Matt Hennessy. Expiring. And I didn't write them all down. I wrote the guys who are probably going to play here. So you're allowing, by the way, so Josh Sweat is out. Are you paying him next year? Are you paying Milton? Are you paying Devin White, Zach Bond, your two inside starting linebackers? You're going to pay Micah Becton? What do you mean, come on? These are all players that their contracts are up at the end of the year. What do you mean, come on? Howie, General Manager of the Year. Oh, your favorite, who I said, I didn't know he was only had 1 year. Isaiah Rodgers, I picked to start. So wait a minute. You're going to have a starting corner. Now I know why Bradbury's in the building. You got rookies and a guy in an expiring contract in Isaiah Rodgers. How he's hedging his bets. Totally why. What if Rodgers sucks? What's one thing Xander keeps saying that is a thing that they said about him? Hey, getting the guys on the ground has always been an issue. And if I'm Milton Williams, I'm not coming back if I'm having a Pro Bowl year at some sort of Howie deal. When I know and I saw Javon Hargrave get $20 million. And I'm seeing what some of these defensive tackles are getting. Not a chance. Milton will go, hey, what are you going to pay Micah Becton? Again, like I said, if Micah Becton fills in for Lane or Mulata, one of those guys he's going to command $20 million. We'll pay Rodgers if Slay leaves. We'll pay Rodgers if Slay leaves. Oh, so you're keeping Slay and Bradbury then? Becton is on an expiring contract. 1 year left, guy. Becton can't leave? Yeah, he can. Seals, I have no doubt that Howie is already calculating the comp picks received if he loses those players. That's Howie's game plan. But, Bob, that's my topic. You cannot build a consistent championship roster with constantly a revolving door on one side of the football. You can build a winner. You can't build a championship team when you're constantly revolving. And this is why, between the coach's revolving door and the defensive side of the football revolving door, you're never going to be in that conversation. Like Tom Brady said last night, that 23 team had not one quality characteristic about it when it came to being a championship football team. Had not one characteristic. It was all individual accomplishment with no team achievement. And that's what you get when you have one-year wonders that are under contract like this. They're walking mercenaries. There's only one side of the ball in Philadelphia that they give a shit about. That's where all the money is. That's where all the creativity is when it comes to the cap. On one side of the ball. It's surely not on the defensive side of the ball. Seals, I agree, consistency. When you have 33% turnover, it's tough. Unless you hit in the draft and have a staff that can get those draft players up and running year one, we are not that team. And that's why you've wobbled each and every single year in consistency. Get this. Here's another thing, too. You got to remember, you went from being one of the top teams in the National Football League in pass defense to one of the worst in 1 year. How's that work? Well, revolving door talent. I can't be the only person that is not blinded by Eagle Green that sees this. What are you going to do with some of these players? Have you addressed it? They haven't even remotely come close to having any conversations about some of these guys. Now, again, Isaiah Rodgers, they want to see him more than what they're looking at in pajamas. But you got quite a few questions here. You get quite a few questions. I heard Xander ask that question. Start the show off with that. Xander joins us each and every single day, 3:30. Don't forget, you can catch him at Birds365. Please hit the like button if you can. Here is our friend, Xander Krauss. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Big Seals? How you doing?
Xander, I don't know if you opened the show, but I think it was one of the first things you said this morning on Birds365. Will the RPO be back? In your opinion, will the RPO be back?
Better be back, right? I mean, that's what Jalen Hurts was best at, but I don't know for sure. I mean, I hope. Geez, I hope. Because if you don't bring back the RPO, then what's the offense look like? Is it play action? That's what Kellen Moore likes to do. So I would hope the RPO is in there. That's where Jalen Hurts thrives, and that's what I want them to get back to for sure.
So you think they're going to run him as much as they've been running him the last 3 years? Over 150 attempts.
Yeah, I do. I don't know if it's sustainable, but do they care?
I don't know.
I mean, I would rather Jalen, and we talk about this all the time. Everybody talks about this. I'd rather they get 8 years of Jalen at his best, using his legs, using his athleticism, and all those things, than get 15 years of turning him into something he's not. He's not Justin Herbert. That's not the style of quarterback he is. That big drop back, that big play action pass guy. That's what Kellen likes to do. He did that a lot with
6'6".
Yeah, he did that a lot with Dak too. Remember how good that Dak running offense was when Kellen was there. So I'll be all right if they use some of that, but they can't get rid of the RPO. Even if you don't want Hurts to run as much, you have to have it there and give them the ability to do it to keep defenses on their toes.
Under Shane Steichen for the 2 years, and it was a great poll by you yesterday. Hurts at 5.6 a carry, then 4.6 a carry. Not horrible, okay? A drop-off. Really, in the 2 years that he was under Shane, he averaged about 5 yards a carry. So every 2 carries, he was picking up first downs. And what else was notable about that? That kept you in 3rd and short. The majority of the time when you were in 22, you were either 3rd and 1, 3rd and 3, and the tush push became even more prevalent because you were basically 1st and 9. Think about how crazy that is and what an advantage that is to have.
It's a huge. That's actually what I'm most excited for about Saquon Barkley, right? Like that's where I think it makes it actually easier on Jalen Hurts. If he can get 4 yards on first down every time, I mean,
Jalen's the one that scares me though. He doesn't.
Yeah, but we have never had the benefit of having a defense with Jalen Hurts have to plan for the running back. You can't just leave Saquon out there.
Miles Sanders had 1,300 yards and 13.
Yeah, but Miles Sanders didn't strike fear in defenses.
You think he does?
I think he does more, yes. Absolutely.
I think he does more in the
You think Saquon Barkley and Miles Sanders are comparable runners?
No. I think he's a little better.
I mean, remember, any running back that comes here is going to do pretty good with that offensive line.
Oh, I think he's going to do outstanding.
Right. 600 to 800 yards given right there with the offensive line.
Agreed.
As long as you're the one back and you're getting that many carries. I think Saquon brings the higher upside, yes. I think he has that breakaway playability, that home run playability that other backs. Now, I thought DeAndre Swift had it. I was a big DeAndre Swift guy, maybe because we went to the same high school. DeAndre glasses.
Hey, but Xander, he got an $8 million raise.
What's that?
He got an $8 million raise. It wasn't like everybody thought he had a market. And it was supposedly, according to John McMullen, they offered him money first before they offered Barkley money. And he offered him that contract. Now they lowballed him. And he went up and got that 8 up in Chicago instead of the 6 they offered him here. Then they went up and they upped the deal to 9 for Barkley. So it kind of worked its way around where they even thought he was better. So
I still think Saquon's a better player than
I do too.
DeAndre.
I do. I think he's more versatile at it. Okay. This last year, though, when they implemented that new offense that they wanted from the pocket, he averaged 3.8 a carry.
Yeah, because it wasn't built for his run at all.
And 200 yards less.
Jalen definitely made a little bit more business decisions last year, which sometimes I get on him at, and then sometimes I understand it where it's like you do want to live to see another down, right? Like I used to say that about the check down. Just check the ball down and live to see another play. Same thing with putting your body on the line. If it's the playoffs or if you're trying to clinch or you're playing Dallas or whatever and the moment is big, Jalen's going to take it. But when you're up 33-13 on the Panthers, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No.
So he did take a lot of knees behind the line of scrimmage last year. So that probably affected that number.
I noticed it in the New England game. I thought he made the very first game he made. Nick goes like this, comparing Sanders to Barkley's nuts, not close. I'll tell you what, I'll remind you of that, Nick. If Saquon Barkley doesn't get 1,300 yards this year and 14 touchdowns, I'll remind you of that.
See, are all yards created equal, though? Because I believe that Saquon
that Sanders yardage got them to the Super Bowl, too.
I'm saying, though, I believe Saquon Barkley can get 1,300 yards, 1,500 all-purpose yards, but I believe there'll be more valuable yards than Miles. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Than Miles Sanders,
yes.
Right? Like bigger moments, closing out games, when you need the yards. Some yards are more important than other yards. When we need a first down, when you need to ice a game because you have a lead on the Ravens, late in the fourth quarter. Those are the moments I think Saquon Barkley is going to be the most effective for the offense. And it takes a lot of onus off Jalen Hurts, which is a good thing. You don't want too much on Jalen Hurts.
Let me go to something else that I hear people say, and I hear it said on your show and other shows, and I hear there's a lot of people that say that. How much stock do you put after hearing what Tom Brady says about individual achievement versus team accomplishment when you hear that metric that they use with Hurts that, well, he got to a Super Bowl And that seems to be because if you took that metric away from him and you looked at his 3 seasons, I mean, I don't see exceptionally special outside of 22. I see one really good season, and I see the rest of them being growing, not horrible.
Jalen, you mean?
Growing.
For
Yeah,
Jalen Hurts?
growing. Because I could say this to you: Rex Grossman, Jake Delhomme, Trent Dilfer, Colin Kaepernick. You go down the list of people that have gotten to a Super Bowl. But why is that metric so important to Eagle fans? Because that, as Brady said, that's not an individual accomplishment, dude. That's a team accomplishment.
It's validation, right? I mean, these guys fight for their guys. They fight for their players, and the individual accomplishments are the validation for the player. We should care more about the team, absolutely, but that's why. It's also a business. These guys get paid on numbers. So
right, they don't get paid on wins.
I know they don't. And fantasy football plays into it, and all these, betting and prop bets. This sport is built on numbers. So I agree with Tom. It's a team game, and you want to put the team accomplishments first, but you're never going to remove the personal accomplishments of the game. No.
But that, to me, in my opinion, Jalen Hurts was Jalen Hurts paid because they went to the Super Bowl, or because Jalen Hurts got paid for numbers? Because if that's the case, those numbers were nowhere in 22 compared to the rest of the league.
Well, he got paid for the whole body of work. I mean, he's still the leader of the ship.
Team winning into it.
Definitely.
Okay.
For a quarterback?
Do you think Kirk Cousins got that $54 million contract based on team winning or numbers?
Yeah, numbers. But that doesn't mean you don't need to have the team winning. Kirk Cousins has never won in his career. So you pay that guy for different reasons than you pay Jalen Hurts.
Boy, I'll tell you what, that means you're more beholden to the front office to put a good team around you, because if you don't have good coaching, a good team around you, that guy's going to look like he did. And the two differences are 22 and 23 is exactly what you just said.
Yeah, every team in the NFL.
Coaching at 22, worse coaching at 23.
I don't agree with this at all. Every team in the NFL.
They didn't have better coaching at 22?
No, they did. I'm saying every team in the NFL is counting on their front office to build a good football team. It's not just having a good player. So that's a dumb argument that Jalen got paid because his team succeeded because his front office put a good team around.
It wasn't anything he did numbers-wise. You just said they're paid on numbers.
Yeah, but what's your point?
My point is that he was paid on team accomplishment in 22 too. Most of these, you think Kyler Murray's been paid on team accomplishment?
No, they're paying him on talent alone. And how's that working out for him?
Oh, I didn't say. Now we're moving the sticks. I'm talking about guys getting paid.
Well, yeah, they definitely got paid for different reasons than Jalen Hurts got paid. I still think Jalen Hurts has that type of talent, though, so it doesn't bother me. I see where you're going, though. These guys haven't achieved anything in their teams or anything big, and they're getting paid the numbers.
So that metric of a Super Bowl matters a lot to you, even though other that's like this. That Stan Humphries taking the Chargers to the Super Bowl, that should be held at a high regard, even though a guy like Fouts and Phillip Rivers never got to that game.
Yeah, I think every situation is different, though. I mean, I think Jalen Hurts was a huge part of the reason that team went to the Super Bowl. Do you not agree with that?
Yes.
You do, right?
Yes.
So Howie built a good team around him. There was good coaches around him. The organization did well. Jalen Hurts took the baton as far as they wanted him to take it.
That's my point about having the organization build a good team around you and good coaching. And that's why if you're putting all those metrics around him, when you don't have it in 23, that's what it looks like. Good coaching, lesser talent.
I don't even think he had lesser talent last year, especially on offense. He didn't. Who'd they lose? You could argue DeAndre was an upgrade from Miles Sanders.
And you know what? I don't really think the Seumalo loss was horrific.
Well, it wasn't because Cam Jurgens played so well.
Yeah, he was an alternate Pro Bowl guy. Yeah, he was an alternate Pro Bowl guy. All right.
I just think there's so much context to this. It's not something I can pull and be like, oh, they didn't pay Jalen off pure numbers, so it was a waste of money. No, they paid him on the whole body of work. Yes, his numbers aren't what the other numbers are, but it's also a different style of quarterback. He brings you different things than other quarterbacks bring you. Jalen Hurts brings you things that Kirk Cousins will never bring you.
If they implement them.
Well,
That
yeah.
was your topic you said this morning.
Yeah, if they
will the
implement them. But
RPO be in
that's
there?
every team. That's what I mean. It takes a lot of things to go that far to win a Super Bowl. You need your front office. You need your coaches. You need your bench. You need everything to go to the Super Bowl.
Would you make of that soundbite I played of Brady talking about team accomplishments versus individual? And that's why I said this about your 23 Eagles. That thing was not team-oriented team accomplishment. That was individual achievement. That was on that team a year ago because everybody got paid, and that's exactly what Brady was talking about, and that's what I talk about all the time. That team did not show championship pedigree last year.
Well, who's the first player that comes to mind from the 23 Eagles? Who's the first player that comes to mind from the 23 Eagles?
Damn, I hate to do this, man, because I didn't think it was possible, but Reddick. Hey, you know what? It ain't Brown.
No, it's not Brown. It's not
furthest.
Brown. Everybody tries. It's not. Yeah, he is the one guy on that offense, more so than Jalen Hurts, that takes accountability when things went wrong. He was open. He was, now look, again, I'm not going to be mad if A.J. Brown does want to get numbers, or even Hassan Reddick does want to get numbers. But you have to be able to balance that with team success. And Hassan Reddick, I don't think he did that. And that's why I think the front office was very upset about his comments at the end of the year, where he's like, they took me out of my thing. I couldn't go and get my sacks and all that stuff, or whatever he said about rushing the passer and dropping into coverage. I think Vic Fangio was like, Howie, I don't need a guy like that. If you want to move on from him, go for it.
Okay, here's a great comment here that goes into the next one. Well, that was last year, Sills. Okay. So I saw this topic, and so you believe that the Eagles, in your opinion, and Xander, I started thinking about it before I was going to ask you this, because you can land on a lot of pods of them deserving the benefit of the doubt this year. And here's why. Well, they won 11. They've been to 3 consecutive playoffs. I mean, end of the day, Sills, we're not talking about a team going 4 wins, 10 wins, 6 wins. We're talking about a team that's gone 9, 14, and 11. Okay? I mean, and you know what? And this goes back to somebody that you and I have a problem with, and that's the head coach. However, how don't they deserve the benefit? And maybe this is why people are giving them the benefit of the doubt of a year ago, because, hey, okay, we're going to go down the John McMullen route. Not winning Super Bowls, but I'll tell you what, they're winning ball games and they're around the rim, as Jerry Jones says. And I know that's not
Big
good.
Sills giving them the benefit?
No.
Is Big Sills giving the Eagles the benefit of the doubt?
I think you should have given Doug Peterson the benefit of the doubt too.
I agree with that. Oh, geez, I agree with that. Absolutely. I think the one big thing though that is fair, even as an Eagle fan, even as somebody who was accused all morning on Birds 365 of my Eagles colored glasses, which I'm all right with. I think that collapse was worrisome. And it's fair to question what went on there, why Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni couldn't. I'm not even asking to make a Super Bowl run, but can you beat the Cardinals and the Giants? Like they couldn't turn it around at all. The Drew Lock Seahawks. I think it is fair to question that. Like what happened there? That was crazy. That was a historic collapse for this franchise. But overall, you're right. I mean, 3 straight playoffs for Nick Sirianni. That's why I kind of wonder why he played hardball so quick with the front office. I bet you Nick Sirianni would have been hired right away if hypothetically he was let go at the end of the year.
So Nick gets the benefit for not winning a Super Bowl. Doug doesn't for winning one.
Yeah, it doesn't make any. Well, Doug didn't want to cater to the front office's needs.
Okay.
Yep.
Not to relitigate that. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, that's what happened there.
I want to go to a comment that I think lingers, and it will always linger. By the way, did we miss a super chat there, Nick? Because I thought we got them all.
Sorry, Nick. We'll get you.
If we didn't, I apologize.
Barkley in the 2022 Eagles, and we win the Super Bowl. That's actually a fair point because Miles Sanders was putrid in that game. He had that bad rush in the first play of the game, and he barely got any reps after that.
Yep.
Fair point. I mean,
okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that.
Apologies,
dude. I I love that Jeff Kerr line. The Eagles will never be a consistent. And I took that comment that John McMullen said the other day, and he's right. You guys are going to be consistent winners. You're just not going to be consistent championship contenders because of what Jeff Kerr said. How can you be a consistent contender when you have 28 1-year or expiring contracts coming up at the end of this year where you're not going to be on that revolving door again?
Well, remember, there's part of this that's a positive thing because we're coming out of a major transition in this team from Carson Wentz. Also, a lot of old guys. So look at what's happening now, though. Jordan Mailata's under contract. Landon Dickerson's under contract for a long time. They're probably going to get the Cam Jurgens extension done. A.J. Brown's here for 2029. Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. The list goes up. Jalen Carter will be coming next. I'm sure Jordan Davis is going to get an extension. Those are your new foundational pieces that Howie's identified. We're talking about guys that are going to be here through 2028, 2029. That's 5 years. Now, not everybody. I think they're still working to fill in those gaps of the people that are maybe they don't believe into that level or aren't that caliber of player. But I do think the transition is happening. I agree with what you're saying. Having guys on 1-year deals every year is not really a recipe for success. But when you're transitioning to a new era of football, when you're transitioning with a 25-year-old quarterback that's getting paid like he is, there's a little bit of leeway there, right? I mean, there's got to be. That Howie, I think, has gone through, and I think it's starting to look really good. I mean,
I don't believe they built a championship.
Who's the biggest players right now on the 1-year contracts that you're concerned about? Let me hear them, and then we'll talk about it.
All right. And I didn't write all 28 down.
Yeah, just the guys that were like, whoa.
Guys that are frontline dudes.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, that at the end of this year, these contracts, what are you going to do with Josh Sweat? You letting him walk?
I would let him walk, but you must have a plan. And either needs to be a first-round edge rusher. It needs to be a trade for a guy. I know he's not available, but a trade similar to the Giants just made for Brian Burns. Something like that. You got to have a replacement plan, but Josh Sweat is not.
That's a $25 million investment in 2s and 5s. How are we going to do that?
That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot to ask for, but you think Josh Sweat's going to be back?
No.
I don't either. I think he's a 1-year guy you let move. You got to have a plan, though, because that's an important position, man.
Okay, Brandon Graham. He's just a victory tour lap here. And
yeah,
thank you.
Brandon Graham will be gone.
Okay. How about this one here? You got Milton Williams on a 1-year expiring contract now. You got him in the starting lineup, too, in the 30 look. You got to put him in the 40 front, too. And here's a guy here walking into his final season. And at the end of this year, his contract is up. And let me tell you this to you. If you let that guy roll into a season and he's starting to look like a Pro Bowler, and all of a sudden you got a guy in there, why in the fuck would I come back and go like this? Yeah, I'll give you a hometown discount mid-season, or I can go to the open market.
Right? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I just saw Javon Hargrave sign for $20 million with the 49ers. I might get $25 million.
You're talking about Milton Williams, right? I didn't hear you.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's going to be gone solely because of how the Eagles have played it. Like, it's not really in Howie's nature to let a guy go to that last year, that rookie contract, if he wants him signed. Devontae Smith didn't do it. Landon Dickerson didn't do it. Most guys that Howie signs that he wants to keep here don't go into that final year of their contract unless you're like a Derek Barnett where you haven't quite proved it yet, but you're contributing and they want to give you that chance to take the next step. So I would like to see Milton because I think he'd be a great depth piece. But here's the problem with Milton, specifically right here, right now. There's only so much to go around, and I'm sorry, Milton, but they just drafted 2 first-round defensive tackles.
That's not a reason to keep somebody over someone else.
No, but you're going to pay Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in the next couple years.
Well, then you're going to sign the lesser player. I think Milton Williams has outplayed him in the last year and a half.
Who, Jordan Davis?
Yes.
I don't know if I would go there.
Baldy says that too. That guy did not deserve to be.
But the context is that he's had a much lesser role. He's coming in off the bench. He's got.
Are you saying that Jordan Davis didn't get more opportunity over Milton Williams because he's a first rounder, dude?
No, I'm saying he got just as much opportunity. He definitely got more opportunities than Milton Williams. So yeah, Milton made the most of his opportunity, but Yeah, business of the NFL there, my friend. I mean, Jordan Davis is not a bust.
You're right, and I hate it. Maybe that's more where I am with it because the better player's not going to get the better job.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
But that happens everywhere.
I'm okay with specifically with this position.
Okay.
Because I believe in Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. I believe in them enough to say, I got to prioritize another position now. Maybe it's that edge rusher we just talked about because I'm going to pay Jordan and Jalen. I can use somewhat of a revolving door at that third DT.
So right now, you would give Jordan Davis a contract extension.
They're going to
$20 million.
They're going to after this year. Yeah.
No way. He has not earned $20 million. That is not a $20 million. That is not a $20 million a year defensive tackle.
Okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to let him walk out the door? You're going to play Jerry Jones ball?
Hey, I'm asking the questions here.
Let the deals pile up, and then you pay an extra $5 million a year for them?
I'm not going to throw money. They don't throw money after bad money over there on that side of the ball too. You really think they're going to spend $20 million on a guy who's underachieved?
I think they're going to prioritize the defensive line on defense 100%, especially post Fletcher Cox, a guy who just was drafted here and retired here. They will invest in that position when they like their player, and I think they like the player.
Well, he has not lived up to him being what they thought he was going to be, and that is not $20 million. How about this one? So Devin White is on a 1-year deal. And we're kind of rooting for Devin White to have a good comeback. The business, we both think that that's probably a lot to do with it. He said it too, that it could have been, hey, I let the business of the game get in my play. And he did. He laid down in Tampa. What if he does come back and have a really good year? He's not going to stay in Philadelphia for $3 million.
No, and unfortunately, I don't think the Eagles will pay him. Because if you take a guy and you undrafted free agent a guy and you build him up in his career and you make him one of the best linebackers, maybe a top 10, top 12 guy, linebacker in the NFL, and you let that guy walk out the door for $7 million a year, why are they going to pay Devin White? They let TJ Edwards walk for that, a guy that they should take pride in. They developed him. When's the last time you saw the Eagles organization develop a linebacker?
A UDFA.
Jeremiah Trotter.
A UDFA. He was a UDFA too, man.
That's my point. So if you let him walk, I mean, maybe you'll learn from your mistake, but
no way.
I don't know.
How about this one? I know this is Vic's guy, Zach Bond. So let me get this right. There's a potential in your eyes that they're going to let Milton Williams, Devin White, Zach Bond, all from your front seven this year, starting this year, they're going to let them walk out the building. And like I said to Jeff Kerr's comment about building consistent championship rosters, the front seven, we're just talking about 3 guys here.
Yeah,
3 guys, and then you're going to replace both corners.
The only guy there who I think you should try and get the deal done with would be Milton. But my worry with Milton isn't so much my opinion on what they should do. It's more of what they've done and what I think they're going to do, right? Like if you haven't paid him, where's the guy up here who said, let me find him. Thanks for the chats, everybody. We appreciate when you guys chat in here. Shoot, where I can't find it now.
Howie doesn't spend money on linebackers or safeties. That's correct. He didn't want to save it. He didn't want to spend it on Xavier McKinney. That's for damn sure. And he didn't want to spend it on Queen, who's 18-4 in Pittsburgh right now. That's a given.
So, El Yappa, thanks for joining in, brother. We appreciate your comments, as always, to everybody in the chat. He says Eagles ain't going to let Milton walk. But here's the thing. Why haven't they paid him yet? And now, like you said, you're walking into a year where if I'm Milton and I've already reached this point, I'm betting on myself.
Yeah.
Right? Because Fletcher Cox walked out the door, which means I'm going to get more snaps this year. Now I can play myself into a massive contract year, or I can get underpaid by the Eagles. Now, maybe he wants to stay. Maybe it's a Devontae Smith situation. But I think that deal would have already came to fruition. And
I
it
agree.
hasn't yet. So the later we get on Milton Williams, the more I would say he's gone. I don't think they're going to let the contract expire and then try and sign him in free agency. a bad
Here's
way
my
of doing
concern.
business.
Here's my concern with Milton. Isn't Milton Williams this 2024 version of Bryce Huff?
What in what way?
He didn't start. Huff had one season in his entire life with 10 sacks.
So you're saying Milton's
What
going
if
to be
he
the Huff
has 10
next year?
sacks and he gets out in the open market, and here's a guy that just gets the numbers and the ability to have the reps? The Eagles paid Huff off of 1 year because his years in New York, he didn't start. He never had high production at anything in tackles. So what if Milton comes in and puts 60 tackles up this year, 10 sacks? That's a $20 million a year guy.
Yeah, and he's going to take it elsewhere. The Eagles, it's not that I don't think the Eagles would want to go there. I just don't think they can do it. I think that they're going to have to prioritize. One, we're talking about this expensive offense. And two, you have a bunch of draft picks on the defensive line. I mean, they made a two draft in a row replacement plan for Fletcher Cox. They drafted 2 defensive tackles in the top 13 of the draft.
Well,
I mean, they're gonna pay those guys. I know they are.
Here's LJ saying Big Sil's going with hypotheticals. Well, it's a hypothetical that you think Bryce Huff's going to replace Hassan Reddick. That's a hypothetical.
That is, yeah.
That's a hypothetical, my friend. Okay? So
Yeah,
you can say whatever you want.
All the money's on the offense, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Howie's playing a hypothetical. Oh, by the way, something else here to think about here. I think it gets a little better here. Let's move. I'm gonna go past Oren Burks. I think they'd let that dude walk out the room too. Okay, Micah Becton is on a 1-year deal. And hypothetically, plays right guard, whatever. Say one of the guys gets injured. He's in there and he puts up a great year, lives up to the reputation and the ability he has. Are you going to pay that guy $25 million?
No, but this is what makes me feel better about this conversation already, right? We've already reached in the 1-year deal department. We've already reached the backups on the offensive line. I agree. We should try and figure out back.
Great point.
But here we go. If we were doing this exercise in Dallas, your starting quarterback, your number 1 wide receiver, and your starting edge rusher, Micah Parsons. That's who we'd be talking about.
It's a great point.
At that point, I'm like, okay, this is a problem.
Yep.
But when I hear Jalen's under contract, AJ, Devontae, Landon, Jordan, Lane, everybody's under contract that is a pillar of our team.
Yep.
I don't worry about it. But speaking of Micah Becton, just to answer, about the player, he's a guy I really like to keep here, but he's also another guy I don't know how you do.
Yeah.
Because unless he's willing to play that right guard, and the Eagles are good to move on from Steen or just let Steen ride the bench for a little bit, I don't think he's going to stay here long enough to see Lane Johnson retire, because I think he's going to get too much money on the open market.
Yeah, that's right. Like he could start 95% of the teams in the league.
You could argue his values already went up just from the headlines of the Eagle camp.
Absolutely.
And he's working with Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland's comments on him alone are a thing that boosts the guy's value. Andre Dillard, what did that guy get paid? He's not even playing anymore. By the way, the guy that we drafted first.
Yeah, he signed a deal with Tennessee.
Yes. Funny enough,
I
2
think
years ago when we went to camp, Dan, we were talking about Jordan Mailata versus Andre Dillard in training camp. I remember.
I think they gave him a good contract. And he was a swing backup guy in Philly.
Yeah, and he stinks out loud. And he got what? How much money?
He got a really nice deal.
3-year deal worth up to $29 million. So he got nearly $10 million a year. Micah Becton's going to make 15 plus.
He was a backup
in Philly. Yeah. Coming off because he lost
$10 million as a backup. That's outstanding.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, how do you keep Becton?
And now that number could be 15 to 17 for a backup.
Yeah. How do you keep Becton in the room? What's the right way to do it? See, if it were me, I would probably, if he could do it, assuming he could do it.
I'd give him a little extra.
I would give him an extra, but I would put him at that guard spot. And then I would feel better just knowing that Steen is probably a guy you're going to let move out the building. By the way, Steen was drafted as a tackle.
Yeah.
Now, he's not going to be a tackle, I don't think, in the NFL, but he was drafted as a tackle.
He's a third
I'd
pick.
feel better with him on the bench, though.
He is a third rounder. You're just not going to let that walk around the room and go, okay,
I know. You'll probably let him live out the contract and then move on. You keep him
not
for depth.
resign. Yeah,
You keep him
something
for
like
depth.
that.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. You ready?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with Isaiah Rodgers?
See, I would try and get a deal done with him.
Well, when? Now? Mid-season? Or are you going to let him walk into the offseason when, come January, 34-year-old Slay and the other guy may not even be on the team, and you got all them youngsters back there, and what if this guy is the guy everyone says he is, and this guy looks like he's a lockdown corner? Xander, that's a $20 million nut.
Yeah, but he's not going to be able to ask for that without proving it on the field.
Okay, well then why not bet on myself? Get out there. What if I open up the game against the Packers and I got two picks?
This is where organizations can hold players hostage. Why?
You have no leverage on him at the end of the year.
No, but okay, then he's not going to hit the field.
Why would I not put my better guy out there? Why? Can we
I'm
play
saying
politics?
I have Keely Ringo, Quinyon Mitchell, and Isaiah Rodgers. Let's just say for a second, I like them all
You're not going to play
equally.
the better guy over money?
I like them all equally. They're going to give chances to those guys because they have a future in Philadelphia. Now, what I would do, you can't pay them now, right? You can't pay them off mini camp. You got to at least get through training camp. No, I think
he's a starter.
If you go through training camp and Isaiah Rodgers has become your declared number 2 cornerback on this team, I would go to the drawing board with him. I would try and get him done for a 2-year deal because, remember, he's probably not going to want to go too long on this deal. He's probably going to want to get back on the open market at 28, 29, see if he can get that bigger deal.
How old is he?
He's 26.
He's 26?
I think he might be turning 27 pretty soon, though. Let me look that up for you. He's 26. No, so he'll be 27 January at the end of the year. So next year, following year, it'll be 27 and 28-year-old seasons. Get back on the open market at 29 years old, go and make that $30, $40 million. Can we get him done for 2 years at 20 million, 23 million, 24 million? Now I have a cornerback too. I leave myself resources. My young guys, because the next guy they're going to pay from that secondary is going to be Ringo. It's not going to be Mitchell or DeJean.
I would say
Ringo doesn't have the 5th-year option, and this will be his 2nd year. So after next season, they'll be looking to it, depending on obviously how he pans out. But I think they'll be looking to extend him.
Of these 10 guys I wrote down here, I got Avonte Maddox. They'll let him roll. Matt Hennessy, they'll let him roll. I would say that you have Milton Williams, you have Micah Becton, and Isaiah Rodgers that you would have to hopefully out of these 10 guys. Milton is a good centerpiece. Micah, I think, could be a long-term investment. And Isaiah Rodgers, if he is what everyone says he is, and get this, if he goes into that Green Bay game as the opening day starter, do you understand his value goes from being a $2 million a year guy to at least north of $10 million right out of the gate?
Who is this you're talking about?
Isaiah.
Yeah. That's why I said if you can get it done right on camp, but once you figure out, is this guy going to be my starter? Now what the other spot they could force him into is if you move Maddox to safety and Isaiah plays your slot. Slot corners aren't making $20 million a year. No. So that's where I think there's
safety. Well, what's his name? Xavier McKinney just signed for $17 million.
Yeah, but he's top of the market safety.
He is top.
I don't think he's the best safety out there, but at least he got paid like it. So,
Okay. How about this one here? I'm going to roll this over here at you. Get off this. So how about the Jets, what they did today? Did you see what they did?
No, I did not. What did they do?
They signed Takkarist McKinley, former number 1 pick, edge rusher from the Falcons.
Interesting.
And they signed him with Reddick holding out. Now, it's only $16,000 a day that it cost him. So the Jets have gone out and signed some insurance here. He was a former, I think it was the 28th pick in the draft a couple of years ago. Didn't really pan out down in Atlanta, but he's not that old. But still, when you see roster moves like this, Xander, most of the rosters are set right now because what?
Yeah.
Because you're up against the cap right now until you get guys that you cut in camp. So, I mean, how do you think this thing plays out with Hassan Reddick in New York? Do you think they move off him? Does he play this year? And again, did Howie get in front of the sticks the right way here with this? Because it does look like there's more of a headache right now with this scenario than what is being reported behind the scenes. I think there's more behind the scenes than what's being reported.
Yeah, no, I mean, this guy they signed, I don't think he's
No.
that,
I think it's just
I see what you're saying there. They're building out the practice players that
it's
they
the
need.
optics. It's the optics of it that they're looking for.
Yeah, you need bodies, right? You need bodies at practice, at camp, and all those things. So, I don't know how the hell this is going to play out, man. I don't think Hassan is going to forfeit, $14.5 million to go and play this year, but I don't know. I don't think the Jets are going to pay him.
They're not.
Right. They would have done it by now. Now, I don't know.
They probably are telling him, hey, let's see how it goes halfway through the season. And you know what? They may be looking to trade him during the trading deadline. You got to always remember something. There's really something that's odd.
How old is Reddick?
I think he's 29.
Yeah, he's 29, but he's going to be 30 in September at the start of the year.
Okay, here's what I would say.
That's why he's pushing so hard.
Here's why I got to tell you, you got to always be concerned about a player like this. Xander, how many edge rushers have you ever seen organizations just go like this? See ya. Arizona did it, Carolina did it, and now the Eagles in so many ways have done it. I mean, you don't see edge rushers and offensive linemen on the open market like that. I mean, look at what the guy Brian Burns commanded.
I know.
He commanded a 2 and a 5 year ago. The Rams wanted to give 2 1s to Carolina for him. Yeah. Now he gets $25 million in New York. You don't see that. Reddick, there's a problem in how coordinators see him.
Yeah, you're right. It's so true.
Problem there to this.
And by the way, that was one of your biggest things when we signed the guy. You're like, why is everybody so excited about a guy that 2 teams let walk out the door 2 years in a row? And you're right. I mean, there must be. I think the diva of Hassan might be true, and that's why you're seeing teams move on from him with the contract demands and the headache of it. Maybe the juice ain't worth the squeeze on him.
Yeah.
And 14.5, I'll take you, but at 25, brother, I'm out. Go find a new suitor. That's what it seems like is happening to him. Now, I'm still curious to see what he's going to do. Like, what I
don't think he's not going to not play because I'm not burning $15 million in a trash can, dude. And if there's no market for me,
but can he show up and not play so he gets his money? Like, how does that work?
How does that benefit you putting bad game on film for other teams to see? That doesn't help you. That doesn't. I mean, if you just show up and all of a sudden you want to be a dick and you don't want to play, and you go out there and you go half-ass through it, people are going to go like this. I'm not spending money on that. I don't think he has a market, Xander.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think it was a manufactured market.
And this is where the Jets have all the leverage because, like you just said, what are you going to do? You're going to show up and not play and then get no contract next year or veteran minimum, or you're going to play for $14 million, go out there and earn yourself another couple years of making in the 8 digits, make $10 million plus. If you don't play this year and you don't go out and put it on there, nobody's paying a 30-year-old edge rusher who hasn't paid $10 million plus. So that's where the Jets have all the leverage, and it's now become extremely apparent why Howie Roseman did not do that dance. Now there's talking about whether the player was worth it or not is a different conversation.
That's right. The production we'll know in December what that looks
exactly. Like. But this is why it takes 2 to tango, and the Eagles weren't willing to tango, I don't think.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. They didn't want to get in a squared circle and fight with him.
Yep.
All right. Last question for you. And this is personal for you. Or I'm asking you a personal question. Today, Merrill Reese won the Roselle Award.
I saw that. Awesome.
Given to a broadcaster that will be enshrined in Canton, Ohio. Cosell has won it. Cowboy has won it. Don Meredith has won it. All those people in the Monday night booth have won it. Some of the greatest broadcasters of all time. Hey, Harry Callis has won that thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay. your thoughts growing up listening to Merrill Reese, all your years being Eagle fans.
I am a massive Merrill Reese fan. I used to, when I was a kid, I would mute the TV and I would tune up the radio. And at this time, my dad is an old school media guy, right? He's been in media for 30, 40 years. And he used to grow up listening to the little box radio next to the bed. I forget what
little
it's called.
transistor.
Little black. Yeah, you twist the thing and you tune it up. So I used to tune it up. We would have one of them. Me and my brother both had one. And I would tune up Merrill and I would mute the TV volume and I would listen to Merrill for all my games. Now, the last couple of years, I haven't done that because I've been working and, you know what I mean? We're watching it in the green room, wherever we were. And just a tremendous voice. He's really become a pillar. It's almost fun to see, you know, how a guy that is the voice of your team can become, it's like he become a part of the team, you know, like when I think of Merrill Reese, I think of the Eagles. I think of the team. Like he is
the voice of the team.
He's right. He is the Eagles. And, you know, that's a big station and he has a big reach and there's nothing like listening to a game with Merrill Reese. And, you know, even just the Super Bowl called in, how happy I was. That was one of the biggest, like right after that happened, we won the Super Bowl. Like a couple days later, I'm like, man, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm so happy Merrill Reese got to call a Super Bowl for the Eagles. Like he had the chance to say the Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. That's awesome. And it was a long time before he got a chance to say that, and he nailed it. And it was awesome. It was really awesome.
Really,
Mark says, who's the first quarterback I remember? I remember McNabb, obviously, and I remember Mike Vick. Mike Vick was like that was when I was really starting to grow up a little bit and getting older, and I would watch games for myself, and I was a big Michael Vick fan. I was.
You're welcome, Philly. Big Sills broke that story for you too.
Yes, you did. I was a huge Michael Vick fan. He was my favorite Eagles quarterback, but before then, I didn't. You know, I was too young at the time, so I didn't. But my only memories of Donovan McNabb are that Super Bowl versus the Patriots. I mean, I was a youngster at the time. I was born in '98, so I was what, six years old at the time. Yeah, that wasn't a good memory. And I remember that. That might be the one thing I remember from being 6 is fucking the Eagles losing the Super Bowl. I was at my aunt's house for a Super Bowl party and we lose to the Pats. So that might be my only big memory. And I remember I used to throw worm burners at people's feet.
Good for you, man.
But Mike Vick was my guy, man.
Hey, I'll tell you just one quick thing. When I was younger, there was a guy. The old folks in this room will know who he is. When I was growing up, we had a guy in the New York area. His name was Marty Glickman. And Marty Glickman used to be the Giants voice, and he called all the games for my uncle. And then he went over to the Jets, and they didn't cut a deal in time with him or what have you. And Marty Glickman is one of the legendary people in the history of broadcasting. He started the Syracuse Broadcasting School. And so when I got into broadcasting, my uncle takes me up to the New York Jets at Shea Stadium. And I go up there and I sit and I go like this. He goes, go sit in there. I turn and look and I go, Mr. Glickman. And he's like, Marty Glickman took time with me, would sit there with me, wanted to help me become a broadcaster. And if you ever look the name Marty Glickman up, he's one of the most legendary people in the history of broadcasting. He was the first voice, play-by-play voice in the history of the National Football League for a local team. It was him. And I got a chance to be schooled by him and just go into, he was one of the people, him and Jim McKay helped me get into broadcasting, which, you know, there's certain guys you hear in your ear when you're a kid, you know, always remember Marty Glickman, or you always remember Merrill Reese. And Merrill reminds me of Marty Glickman because, like you said, it's not just a guy calling the games. He is the game. You know, Merrill, you're watching the game through his eyes.
He really is. And you know who else has become part of that for me in a way is Mike Quick. I just think he's such a great compliment to Merrill Reese. And obviously there's a warm place in all of our hearts. He was a great Eagles receiver. But I think the whole tandem in Philly is phenomenal. But that's a great story you shared there. So you got more great stories than anybody.
Man, I'm very lucky to have been around a lot of people. All right, Xander, tell folks what our number is right now on our likes. We're trying to get to 200, guys. I appreciate it. By the way, we're going to take a look at what game is it we're going to be looking at. The
110. Phil's 110.
110. We got to pick it up just a little bit. You guys are right there online.
Wait, can I ask you one thing before I get out of here?
Yeah.
So I was getting called a fool this morning for how I view Micah Parsons. And I potentially have eagle-colored glasses on this. And how do you view Micah Parsons? Is he to you a generational talent? Is
No.
he better than Nick Bosa?
No. I'll tell you how I look at him. He's probably the most versatile outside guy in the league today who can cover tight ends and backs and rush the passer. His difficulty playing the run gets exposed when the Cowboys get run on. Him in a defense like an old Ravens defense or in a 40, like with the 49ers, he would be stupid, insane, phenomenal, because remember how Reddick picked his game up when they fixed the run game and he just took off for 15 sacks? He's that guy. But if you put him in a position where he has to be a guy who's the centerpiece to help your defense win on a consistent basis, and he's your only centerpiece, and you don't have multiple guys in there and workers in there, especially in the front four, he is a very overrated player. I think he's a finesse player. I don't think he's a dominant physical player like Myles Garrett. He's good, dude. He's going to make plays because he's a lot like Sileo in a way. He'll be out of position, but then he'll run himself back into the play because he's so athletic. But when you look at him and you go, Sills, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons, it's not close. Even T.J. Watt and him, they're just not close. They're not the same guy. And he gets looked at as the same guy. And then when you start talking about Taylor, that's where my hair stands up on the back of my neck. Taylor knocked people out in the run game, knocked people out, changed the position on the way the edge played. There's rules in the game today because of Lawrence Taylor. And I'll say it again, the two greatest, most dominant defensive players I've ever seen are Reggie and that dude. And if you gave me the latter, I'll take him. But he is not in that conversation. What are they saying? Why are they killing you on that?
Well, no, they killed me. And it's funny. I said basically what you said. I said it in a different way. And I didn't have as much context as you do because you are been around this game for a really long time. But I basically said he's a great player.
Yeah.
He's not a generational talent to me. And John McMullen really crushed me on it. He's like, you're delusional. You are eagle-colored delusional. He said he's going to be the highest paid player in the league. That's not a non-quarterback. He's going to be worth it. He's a game wrecker, generational talent. And I just said, I don't see Micah Parsons as that.
Let me ask you something here.
I was told, and I was also told, though, by a lot of fans in the chat, the Eagles fans, they were like, you're way wrong, Xander. He is.
Okay.
And I'm like, I didn't say he wasn't a beast. I just said he's not generational.
So when John says he's going to be paid all that money, how about this? So Dak's going to get 60, CD's going to get 35, and this guy's going to get 35. Does that mean, John, that those three guys are the best quarterback in the league, the best wide receiver in the league? I wouldn't take him. I wouldn't take CD over Devontae. Okay, I mean, but because they're in Dallas, they're going to be overpaid. Everybody's overpaid in Dallas. Everyone in Philly is not. Look, think about that. Nobody in Philly's overpaid. Everyone in Dallas is overpaid. Always.
Yeah, they don't do business.
The story of the franchise.
Yeah, but I'm happy that I got to ask you about what you think of at least the player.
He's a really good player. He's a good player. He is.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And
too.
it's hard.
He's a great player. I don't think.
Watch this. I mean, Lawrence Taylor. How about this one? You think that guy's Derek Thomas?
Wait, so sorry to keep you, but here's one other thing, right? Because this is how we got to that point. We did our top NFC teams. You remember we did that a couple days ago. Yeah. We did our top rosters. Yeah. So I did a little bit of that with John this morning. We did our top 7 because 7 make the playoffs. So I'm like, let's hear our 7. We didn't have Dallas. Neither of us had Dallas in our top 10. Now I corrected mine. I realized Dallas is probably in my top 10. I had them at 7.
I didn't.
John McMullen had them at 4. In front of Green Bay.
Who's running the ball for them? They can't stop the run.
Yeah, he's like Dak and Micah and CD and all these, they're there, and they got Deron Bland and they got Trevon
Really?
Diggs and they got, and look, I'm not. I think the Cowboys are going to be a good team.
He must think CD Lamb's a better player than AJ then.
No, he doesn't think that.
Well, then he must think he's better than Tyreek Hill.
I don't know what he thinks.
Okay, well then he must
think a lot of money.
Micah Parsons, who was nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, he thinks Micah Parsons is like the freaking.
Where was Micah Parsons when he had one sack in the last 8 games?
That's what I said. This is exactly what I said. I'm like, John, this is not a game record, dude. The guy had nothing in the playoff loss. They got blown out.
Arizona ran the ball on him for 240 yards.
Yeah, I don't know. Because I love John and I love his opinion.
It's all
and,
good.
He
thinks I'm whacked out too, so we're good.
Yeah, he thinks I'm whacked out. He said it was my first Jody moment. That's what he called it. I'm like, oh God.
I love it. I love it. Don't forget to watch those guys in the morning on Birds 365. Jason Cole's going to join us in a couple minutes. Xander, great stuff, my friend.
Appreciate it, Sales. See you, everybody.
You got it. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Val Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Appreciate it very much. Thank you, guys. We're going to get a hold of Jason Cole here in a couple minutes. Thank you, guys, so much. Hopefully, we're able to connect with him here shortly. DFW, I'll make a comment about your guy, Micah. Micah gets worn down at the end of the year because they only rush him, and he's 245 pounds going against tackles that are 80 pounds heavier than him. DFW, that is the one difference that Lawrence Taylor faced versus today with Parsons taking on more athletic tackles and bigger tackles. There weren't people in the league like Jordan Mailata at 6'8", 370 pounds that moved like that when Taylor played. 280, 290, 300 most. There weren't 375-pound offensive tackles that played in the NFL. So there's some truth to that. Players are bigger, faster, stronger today than when they played in LT's time. I don't know if they're as technically sound as, say, because you had better practice habits back then and you were able to practice longer. So you had more skill set guys back in the day than you do today. Think about it. You can have a guy like Lane Johnson. Think about what I'm saying here. How many practices does Lane Johnson get in training camp? Full contact, 20. Back in the day when you had training camp, you might have 220 to prepare yourself for an upcoming season. The more practices there were no time limits on practicing when it came to coaches. They could keep you out there 5 to 10 hours. It didn't matter. And this was in season. They didn't have parameters. Collective bargaining agreement came in. Player safety became more of an issue. Well, when all that happens, you get less time to be prepared as an offense. I think it's harder to play offensive tackle today than it's ever been because I think that side of the ball takes a lot longer to develop. That's why when you have a guy like Jeff Stoutland and you hear Jimmy Johnson making the same comment, these offensive line coaches are worth their weight in gold. When you have someone like that can create all these guys that are top flight guys. Just take a look, for instance, just take a look, for instance, at the Giants and their situation. They have one guy on their team in the last decade, that left tackle they have now offensively. It's taken them 10 years to find him. You got guys littered all over that lineup and backup guys like we were talking with Andre Dillard getting $12 million a year, and he was a backup from Tennessee. He got $12 million in Tennessee, being a backup in Philly. It is absolutely crazy how good that guy is and how much value. Let me say this to you. There's only one coach right now in Philadelphia that I would never get rid of, and that's him, Jeff Stoutland. The rest of them are expendable. The rest of them are absolutely expendable. He's not. He's not, because he develops the most important position. You know why? There's 5 of them. Micah Parsons is more valued as a chess piece than an every down rusher. DFW, Lane Johnson has no issues with him. When he lines up over Lane has no – if you have 60 plays in a football game 2 times a year, you get 120 plays. Lane Johnson goes against Micah Parsons. I would say this to you. How many times does Lane get beat? Or how would I grade him after the 3 years, me watching Lane Johnson play against Micah Parsons? I would say this. I thought Micah had a pretty good run at Mailata last year. I thought he gave him the game in Philly. I thought he got around him a couple times. But I would say this to you. Out of 120 plays, Micah Parsons, the last 3 years, great against Lane. %65%. That's failing. You need to be up in the dude, anything south of 71, you question your coach. What did I do wrong? You can't get 70s. When you go into your team meeting on Wednesday and you're watching film, or Monday after the game, and you show up and you're watching game film on Monday, and you get your production sheet, and you look down and you see, here's some of the things that I remember getting this from Butch and from Dave Wanstead. I'm looking down and I go, 10 tackles, great. A sack, 2 TFLs, 76%. I'm like this, what? And you didn't get your head front side. You didn't get your head backside. You didn't pressure the guy down the line of scrimmage. You let the guy off onto the linebacker too soon. You're like, fuck, man. 65%, I would say. That's failing. I see no pressure. DFW, I don't really see him being a factor in Eagle Cowboy games. I just don't. He'll make a sporadic play and a flash play, but as a player that plays, I mean, he beats up on Washington and New York in the division. The Eagles kill him. I've never seen him have a productive moment where I went, guy's really great. I've never really seen that. Okay? Sucks on this, Sills. Parsons excels at getting into the backfield. He has 14-plus sacks in each of the 3 seasons. Ultra Cowboy. Every time I watch him in critical football games in the NFC, he gets annihilated because he gets worn out by the end of the year. You know, before I bring Jason Cole in here, because I'm going to ask him about another Hall of Fame guy, for those people who compare Micah Parsons to Lawrence Taylor, Lawrence Taylor's not going to go through an 8-game stretch having 1 sack. That guy is going to destroy games. You could watch Giant games in the past, and you would go, that guy had 3 sacks and 14 tackles and 2 TFLs, and he annihilated that team. Washington, back then, the Redskins were lucky to get out of that game. They were lucky to get out of that because he would kill 2 quarterbacks. Parsons is not that player. He's a finesse guy. That's why when you're voting on him for the player of the year, it becomes skewed because you look at TJ Watt and you look at Myles Garrett or you look at Bose and go, those guys are complete ball players. He's not. He's a finesse player. So, again, he's just not. 14 sacks against who? The Giants? Giants blow. All right. There was another Hall of Famer today, and he is a friend of mine, and his name is Larry Zonka. And Larry Zonka went off today. And I saw Jason Cole kind of address it. And I'm going to make this point to everyone here. Players are faster, stronger, bigger today. They're not as skilled as they were back in the day because common sense would tell you they practice longer. There were no rules and hours of practice. You had guys on your team for 10, 15 years if you wanted them. People stayed in one place, and they played 3-a-days in training camp. So you had better chances of developing technique than you do today. Guys are great athletes today. And he was asked the question, Larry Zonka, about the best team. And I don't think this is a debate. I'll end it right now. 3 AFC championships in a row, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 2 Super Bowl wins, and one of those teams was undefeated. And in that old line, you had Langer, Little. Kuchenberg should be in the Hall of Fame. Jason's got to do something about that. You got Zonka, and you got Greasy, Warfield, all off that team, which you could compare to the Packer teams. So we're going to start there with that because he got in someone's ass. Larry looks like he could still play. Let's bring in our friend, Hall of Fame voter, Jason. Hey, looks like Zonka can still play, huh?
Oh, he's fired up. I'll tell you that. He was ready to get after it with whoever asked the question. That was awesome. So,
what I loved about that team was that team, the offensive coordinator was Howard Schnellenberger. And Howard was a guy, and he moderned our first national championship ring after that Super Bowl undefeated.
Who was the defense coordinator? Was the guy who was head coach at LSU?
Yeah. He offered me a call. What was his name? I think he was the head coach of the Giants at one time.
Yes, he was. God, who was the defense coordinator of the Dolphins?
Oh, he offered me a scholarship to go play at LSU because Andy hired him to be the head coach in New York with the Giants. Actually, John, what's his name too? John McVay was also a head coach in New York back in the day under Andy. What was that guy's name? Oh my God, he was
Bill Arnsberger.
Bill Arnsberger, that's it. Love Bill. Great guy, man.
One of the greatest assistant coaches of all time.
You agree with me on the Dolphins?
I think it's the greatest team accomplishment of all time. And they're up there in the top 2 or 3 of greatest teams. Like, yeah, the 49ers that went 15-1.
84, 85.
Yeah, 84, 85 is pretty strong unit. They're in the top 2 or 3. But if you want to talk about what's the most important accomplishment, it's them. The issue I have is and this is the same thing I have across all eras. Rules are different. The way the game is played is different. Playing a 14-game season versus playing a 17-game season is different. Or even 16 games, 12 game seasons. All those things measure
roster sizes.
Right. But I mean, if you're going to tell me that Bob Greasy, am I taking Bob Greasy at quarterback and those guys over some of if you drop the Dolphins in today's game, do they play anything close to the same? Even if if the talent is equally distributed, do they play the same? No, because the style of the game is different. They were built perfectly, which is for what they played. And
the coach.
And the coach was great, and and their level of performance was genius. There's no question about it. But there's some teams that I thought are better teams over the years. Not many. I will say. I'm not talking about there's a truckload. I was able to name one right off the top of my head. And I would probably have to think a while before I came up with, 1 or 2 others.
One last question about Shula and your perspective on it. Do you think that he was in the most significant games in pro football history, or do you think it was Weeb Ewbank who was in that 58 title game and in Super Bowl III that won and helped merge the league? Because he was also, Shula was in that game and he lost with the Colts. And then he turned around and had an undefeated season in 72 in that Super Bowl, closing it out against the Vikings. Would you say Weeb Ewbank has been in the most significant games that helped define what the NFL is today?
Yeah. I mean, look, the 58 championship game is what greatest game ever played, right? And
Giants and Colts.
Right. Giants, Colts. And then you get to, Super Bowl III. Weeb Ewbank is a vastly underrated historic figure. Okay, and who does not get the appreciation he deserves, and but he didn't have the same career as guys like Shula. But
there were more significant moments, right?
Yeah, he's a man of moments. Okay, just like Joe Namath is not making any top 10 all-time quarterbacks. And he's probably not even. He'd be pushing hard to make a top 20.
He's got more INTs than touchdown throws, and he's got actually more losses than he has wins. And you'll never see that dynamic. Nobody like you will ever vote for someone with that metric going into the Hall of Fame.
But he is a man. He is a defining figure in the history of pro football. And that's why when people ask me who's the greatest quarterback of all time, I still say, you got to put Unitas in the conversation because he had records, he had accomplishments,
records and rings,
and he's a man of who belongs in a mythic historic figure as well because of his position in helping grow the NFL. Unitas is up there. He was in the 58 game. He's in Super Bowl III as well, which is part of what makes that game mythic, right?
Yeah,
they had to beat Unitas, right? Yeah. So there's just importance to Unitas that'll just never be matched because that history has been written. Okay, and so that's why I always say, you want to talk about Mahomes, you want to talk about Brady, you want to talk about Elway, Marino, Montana, all those guys. Don't forget Unitas. Don't forget what he did.
I was watching last night the induction of Tom Brady into the Patriot Hall of Fame, which I thought was sensational. And I got to say this to you, Jace. Belichick and Kraft and Brady, they look like there's been a lot of burying of the hatchet between the three of those last night. I mean, you know, I tell you what, he did turn and look at Belichick and say, and I think he's right. I think that conversation that it's all Brady is bullshit. And I'll tell you why. He goes, wasn't you, coach? Wasn't me. It was us. You can't define Chuck Noll without Bradshaw. You can't define the guy in San Francisco without Joe Montana. You can't define Mike Shanahan without John Elway. Every one of those coaches had exceptional quarterback skills guys to help them because they were married together. What did Chuck Noll do without Bradshaw? Nothing. He actually had losing seasons at the end. I mean, so that is just a way for the media to attack coaches because look what he did. He didn't do this without Brady.
Well, we always want to parse it out about who's the most impactful one. I mean, it just establishes the player is more important than the coach.
Agreed.
The player's on the field. The player touches the ball. The player makes decisions. The player has to be the one who performs, right? So it's always the player is more important. Don't lose sight of that. But you have to have a great coach that puts you in position to win ball games and to run everything. So it is a marriage. It is a partnership. And it is like you don't get the Beatles, without George, Ringo, John, and Paul, right? Like you have to have a synergy of four people create something that's really great. The important part of Belichick and Brady that people often misunderstand is it's the greatest partnership in the history of the league. And the fact that they lasted 20 years together. Like, I don't know, like if Chuck Noll was alive today, I'm not sure that he and Bradshaw would last 20 minutes together in the same room. They hated each other that much, right?
Yeah.
And they managed to make it work for 4 Super Bowls. So kudos to them. Brady and Belichick managed to make it last for 20 years.
Insane.
It's unheard of. So, look,
likely never to be seen again.
Probably never to be seen again. You're right. It's just an incredible partnership. But eventually, like, you always look at the other person and say, well, I could have done this without you. And the other person says, well, I could have done it without you, because that's the nature of people who want to accomplish great things.
It's an ego sport, right, Jace?
Well, all things are ego if you want to be great. If you want to be great at something, there's a certain amount of individuality to it. There has to be. There's pride that's on the line, and you want to perform. But you got to bring people along with you, and those people deserve a tremendous amount of credit. This is not tennis, and it's not boxing, right? Like it's not those kinds of sports. It is team sport. We all know that, and you need other people to help you be great.
Jay, there was an induction into the Hall of Fame today, and the Roselle Award, and Merrill Reese from the Philadelphia Eagles goes in. I was talking about Marty Glickman when I was a young kid. People probably never heard the name Marty Glickman. And Marty Glickman, my uncle introduced me to him when he was the New York Giants voice, and then he eventually became the Jets voice. I met him when he was at Shea with the Jets. I was really young. People don't remember that, but that award, the Roselle Award, when you're talking, and the Xander, who's part owner of our network, and he grew up listening. Have we lost a little bit of some of these old guys like Merrill, who you listen to the game through their eyes, and that they're not quite the same as Kurt Gowdy or some of those guys that you and I grew up with, Jace? That more
there are guys who are coming along. There are guys who are coming along. I Am Eagle.
Yeah,
Costas, Kevin Harlan is Harlan's hysterical, right?
Yep.
Like there are guys like that out there. You listen to Dave Fleming, who does the Giants right now, great announcer. Bob, John Miller is there too. But like certain guys mark time for it. Yeah, there are Greg Papa, who's been in the Bay Area.
Greg Papa in the Bay Area.
But there's both of them, Bob Papa and Greg Papa.
Yep.
John Shambi, who works in Chicago, is truly great. But like, it takes a long time for you to get used to these guys. Like, I grew up listening to Chick Hearn and Vin Scully in Los Angeles, and because that's my childhood, and I grew up on these exciting memories. I'll say there's never going to be anybody as good as Vin Scully, and probably nobody in basketball ever as good as Chip Hearn. But that doesn't mean there aren't other great people and who've done it. Who, if you grew up in New York listening to this guy, or you grew up in Philly listening to Merrill Reese, or you listen to this guy, they're just the sound that's in your head, and they're part of why you fell in love with this. I think that's going to exist forever. It just doesn't exist for us the same way, because we're not 12 and 13 and 14 years old anymore, growing, listening to games. And we don't have transistor radios on our bikes riding around the neighborhood, listening to Dodger games, as we're riding around.
It's funny you say that, because Dick Enberg was a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine. He was a Padre guy, and I used to go up and listen and watch him do those games. And that wasn't even his best sport. I mean, he was the voice of the UCLA Bruins back in the day. He called Angel games. He obviously not NCAA games. And he brought me into Vince Scully. And I sat there at Dodger Stadium, and I watched him do something from just, he never had a guy sitting next to him his entire time calling a Dodger game. And he would do shit like this. And he's talking about the guy, Clayton Kershaw, really fantastic. He goes, I remember when Koufax first got here in '68 against the Cubs, when he tossed that perfect game, and he was really the same type of pitcher, command of his pitches, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Really a great day out here in Dodger. He's telling you this throwback story.
He's painting a portrait.
Weaving it all in. It was so insane great.
Yeah, well, my favorite memory of Vin Scully, aside from listening to him, right? Like, and then listening on the national broadcast, like Vin Scully's the voice of The Catch.
Yeah,
on CBS. He was calling The Catch for CBS.
That's right. I forgot that in the back of the end zone when Montana threw the pass back there, right at Candlestick.
That's Vin calling the game. But Vin was relentless in his work, and what I mean by that is he would be in the clubhouse before games talking to players, getting stories and anecdotes. And so many announcers that I listen to now, like, I'm not sure they have any kind of connection with the players that they cover. Like, I'm not sure that they talk to the guys and get stories from the guys and really watch and are on top of it. And I'm not saying that's a factor of today versus yesterday. That's just work ethic. Like, and whether you had that work ethic long ago or whether you have that work ethic today, but a lot of, I hear a lot of just mundane announcers who don't tell me background stories, don't give me something that's going on with the player. I'm not talking about news or dirt or anything else like that. Well, how does the guy think? How does the guy approach the game? What is he, what happened yesterday and what's working or not working for him?
Doc Emmerich would do that. Hey, remember Medicine Hat, Wisconsin, or Medicine Hat, Canada? I was watching Eric Lindros when he was a young kid, and you're sitting there going like, Medicine Hat, Canada? What is that?
Right. It's good, but that's great stuff. I mean, and that, again, that's all part of painting the picture. Are you doing something, are you doing something that's really unique? Like, are you
doing a job, or are you doing something you love?
Right. Like Kevin Harlan, does something he loves, right? Like my favorite, Kevin Harlan on the NCAA game when it was Virginia against, what was it, St. Bonaventure or something like that?
Yeah.
Or Fairfield. I think it was Fairfield. And Fairfield wins the game on a 3, and these outrageous moments where they steal the ball in the backcourt, they come up, they hit the 3, and the place is going nuts. And if you're watching there's a camera that's on Harlan as he's doing that. And as it happens, and he calls a 3, and he just swings his arm out in front of Van Gundy. In front of Stan Van Gundy and the other announcer, because they're like lost in the moment. They don't even know what to say. He's describing it, but he's thinking so much that he knows, like, you guys shut up for a sec, because I'm going to shut up and I'm just going to let the crowd pour out over it. So nobody talks. So like he's taking it to the level where he's like a conductor of an orchestra.
How about when he does the play-by-play when a guy runs on the field and the guy gets killed by the security guys, and he's putting that play-by-play together? And
better yet, the cat is in.
The cat.
The cat in the end zone when he weaves in the commercial. He's in the CD red zone, right? Remember, he says that in the middle. The cat is on he's at the 3, the 2. He's in the CD red zone. And then it's just genius, right?
He is. It is.
He's so focused and like those guys are great because they create a memory that just makes you come back and laugh about something, or again, it's.
I love those guys. I really do, Jason. I love the voice.
Long story. They exist today. We just don't hear them the same way. We just don't hear them the same way because we're not kids. That's how I look at it.
How about this? Let me get a couple NFL questions on here. Is Rodgers not being at
Bad
Jets
look.
minicamp
Bad look.
a big thing or no thing?
It's a bad look. It's a thing. If they win a bunch of games, nobody will care. But if they don't win games,
so it's an in the moment thing.
Yeah, it's in the moment thing. It's also, what are you telling your teammates? Right? Like,
I think this stops him from being the ultimate champion.
Right? Like, are you making sacrifices for the good of everybody? Because if you're not, why should they? Right?
Agreed.
And like, they all got to be there and miserable. Now he showed up the other times. He may have explained it all to them, but in the back of their heads, they're like, "Hey, man, this is mandatory. Mandatory.
Why does it have to be about him?
It's just what he's become. Like, because I think that look, different people are affected different ways, but I think that those years in Green Bay made him introspective in a way that he's like, I guess I got to do it.
Guarded.
I think it made him a little bit. I think it made him frustrated, like that he feels like he had to do so much on his own because he felt like he wasn't getting the kind of help, and that's a bad mindset. It's made him controlling. It's made him manipulative in certain situations, and I think he's lost. Like, I think he believes I got to be in charge, and I'm going to show you that I'm in charge more than the people are the bosses. And again, that's a bad look, because when Saleh walks in the room with the defensive guys, and he has to put the wood to those guys one day, are they really listening to him like he's in charge? Like, are they snapping back like this? Again, Brady put up with so much crap from Belichick, and granted, he got tired of it at the end. But for the better part of 20 years, he put up with so much crap over the years from Belichick that he made it possible for Belichick to be tough on everybody else.
He made his job easier.
He made Belichick's job easier because he was there and he took it, right? And yes, eventually he got tired of it. That's part of why they split at the end. But for a long, long time, he put up with it. And him putting up with it allowed Belichick to be the coach that Belichick was, and to be exacting and tough on guys. And Brady's genius was allowed to come out in the way that he was able to play quarterback. And what Rodgers, and I don't think Aaron gets it. And I love Aaron Rodgers, and I love to watch him play. I hate all the other goofiness and silliness. But if you want to talk about a pure thrower of the football, right? Like, that's insane. But it's like, dude, are you in it to do this the right way and run and help your team win? And I think the answer is no, based on his actions.
Do you think he's over or underachieved in his career?
Under. This guy should have 3 or 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I think he's underachieved too. I think it's more about individual accomplishment than it is about what Brady said last night.
Look, I think that I do think that Aaron was trying to win. Don't get me wrong. I think he's tried to win. He hasn't won. Just like Marino underachieved. Okay, Marino didn't achieve what he should have achieved. He should have multiple Super Bowls.
You think John Elway underachieved?
No.
He's 2-4 in Super Bowls, or 2-3 in Super Bowls.
Yeah, which one of those 3 losses did he have a shot at?
Hey, Mr. Stanford, I'm not.
But you saw the teams. Now, I'm not trying to be. You saw the teams. They have it. You saw the teams.
Okay, all right. That
just
Stanford
compare
thing
them.
goes a long way.
It does, okay, but it does. That's a lot of truth. But you
Holy
know
cow.
you know the teams. Okay, wait a
Okay,
second.
it's like, okay, my Miami. Oh, now
Okay,
I know the
let's put
button.
how many Hall of Famers were on those three losses for the Denver versus what he
Oh,
faced?
Carl
How about
Mecklenburg.
New York Giants? Well, yeah, we got LT, we got Carl Banks, we got
Oh, hey.
Leonard Marshall. We got like he's got guys breathing down his neck
Okay.
still
Oh, I
from that
didn't.
game.
All these years, over the decades I've known you. Okay, did I way underachieve? Holy jeez, oh man.
No, well, hey, just getting to 5 is an amazing thing. Like
okay.
like would I say that Jim Kelly underachieved? No, I would not say that Jim Kelly underachieved. I think Jim Kelly got about the most out of his career. And he doesn't have a ring, but he got there, right? Like he did just about everything you could possibly imagine. Marino, sadly, that's an underachievement. They're still a great player. Don't get me wrong.
7
Amazing
to
player.
9 in the postseason too.
Yeah, and just an amazing throw, maybe the greatest pure passer of all time, right? Like just throwing the ball. But
And O'Brien
it is what
had
it
a
is.
winning record versus him, and he was the Jets quarterback. Just to put it in perspective to you.
Just saying. Just saying.
Hey, final one here for you. Cowboys. I say they win 6 ball games this year. Am I crazy?
They're a little better than that, but like even if they win 10, do you believe that they're really going anywhere?
Nope.
Like they're just not. Like they could win 12 or 13, right? And I just
Doesn't matter.
it's not posted.
Hey,
Like, dude, yeah. I just don't.
doesn't matter.
Well, yeah. Unless you got to win in the postseason. Number one, number two. Like somebody made this point the other day that the core of the Eagles is all signed. Like when you get to Jalen and the 2 receivers and this guy and this guy and this guy, all those guys are signed. Yeah, all those guys are signed and they're happy and they're together right now. You got questions about the head coach. You got some questions about the quarterback. All this stuff. You look at the Cowboys. None of those dudes are signed.
Hey,
like
I don't even know. I can't even say the name of the guy who's running the ball, and it's not really Zeke. I don't know who the guy is, the starter in there. They're talking about Michael Thomas on the other side of CD and putting him there. But, I mean, Michael Thomas, his best years are behind him, haven't they? He put him up in New Orleans 4 years ago.
There is a mindset in Dallas, and it starts at the top, that doesn't understand how do you win? How do you win?
Yeah.
How do you get guys all on the same page and get them to win games? And I don't think they understand that. And part of it is the nature of the Cowboys, whether it's Jerry or not, but a lot of it comes from Jerry. And as soon as they win 3 straight in the first half of the season, at some point they're going to win 3 straight. Everybody's going to be talking about Super Bowl. It's like, come on, dude, we just got to win a playoff game.
I'm going to leave you with a great line from Brady last night. Line was this. He goes like this: you don't have to be special. You just have to do the most things that most people don't want to do. That's be consistent, work your ass off, have love for your teammates, and do it together. He goes, that's the sign of a championship team. Individual achievement versus team achievement should never supersede that.
Absolutely. You remember that video that came out after they won the Super Bowl in Tampa, and they are the team party and they got their rings, and Brady's up there and he's reeling off every single dude's name.
Yep.
Right. And people think, well, whatever, that's no.
Nope. It's a real thing.
That's a real thing. When the quarterback, the Hall of Famer, is naming every dude on the roster who did any little thing, that means that he knows all those guys and he has a relationship with all those guys. Maybe not. We're not talking about friends or buddies or drinking pals or anything, but he knows who you are. He knows what you do, and he cares.
I think
That goes
Brady's
a
a
long
better
way.
team leader than what Jordan was, because there were more men to have to motivate. Remember, he couldn't play defense.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking different skill sets and all and environments, but yeah, football is just by nature to be a leader in football.
It's harder.
Yeah, because you just got more human beings to deal with.
I have more control of my success in basketball because I play both ends. When I play pro football or I play football, you don't have control. You can play your greatest game of your life and lose, and you have no control over it. When you play the greatest game of your life in basketball, you're in it. You could
rest in peace, Jerry. Rest in peace, Jerry West, but MVP of an NBA championship final on a losing team.
46 points a game he scored.
Yeah.
He scored the greatest finals of all time, had the greatest finals of all time, but lost. That's probably his least favorite award.
Oh, absolutely. Knowing Jerry, the limited way that I know Jerry, I've talked to him a few times. I mean, but yeah, his least favorite award, but like, yeah, you can be great in every single way and just not win.
Well, let me sneak this one in on you, because he is the greatest former Hall. I think he got away a lot of this, Jason, by being one of the top 10 players in the history of the NBA. When the general manager comes to you and he's one of the top 10 players in the history of the NBA, you're listening to him for a variety of reasons. Paycheck, he's awesome. Was there an NFL guy like that? Is Ozzie Newsome the closest to that?
Ozzy's the closest converted player who can walk in, and Ozzie doesn't even have Super Bowl, right? Like, he doesn't have that.
He has it as a GM.
Like, there's only two guys in the history of the league who ever won a Super Bowl as a player and then came back and won it as an executive. Two guys. We've talked about one of them already.
Elway.
And that was Elway. Won it as a player, came back as an executive and won a Super Bowl. As I'm talking about as a lead guy, like as a guy in charge of running operations.
Who's the other guy?
Ditka won a Super Bowl and then came back as a head coach and won it. It just doesn't happen very much. And Jerry West is special in the same way. I mean, Jerry West was a genius of a scout. He was a genius as a coach. He was a genius as a player.
That's right. He won a Super Bowl in Dallas.
Yep. Ditka won a Super Bowl in Dallas and then came back with the Bears.
Won the coach. Right? Yep. That's
and
right.
So there's it's it's a short list of guys who are in the Jerry West discussion, the Ozzie Newsome, John Elway, Ditka discussion, where you can be that great as a player and then come back and just wanting to work at it. Right? Like, most of those guys ride off into the sunset. It's like, look, I'm not up for this.
I agree.
I'm not, I don't need the hassle. Like, I can go spend the rest of my life being Tom Brady and I'll just get money thrown at me. I don't need to go be a general manager. There's something special about those guys who are like, no, I got to be involved.
It's like Peyton Manning and Brady are chasing something new now.
Yeah, well, they're chasing influence on sports as a whole. Like, Peyton is chasing this role of how do you become a multi-billionaire, and be a media company, all these other things. He doesn't care to run a team.
No, he loves the game.
He's just having a good time. Like, he loves shooting the shit on a Monday night with his brother, watching a game, right? And then the rest of the time he's, taking advantage of his business influence. He wants no part of being a GM. John Elway, it's in his DNA. He had to go do that. Ozzie Newsome, if you knew him, if you know him, it's in his DNA. He had to go out there and keep battling. and keep fighting and keep competing, even if you can't play. Ditka, for most of his postseason life, and then got into TV, and it was like he mailed it in then. But for most of his post player career, he wanted to keep competing, right? Like this, Jerry West, right up to the day he died, wanted to keep competing. And there's very few human beings who can continue to test themselves at that level.
If John Lynch wins a Super Bowl, I mean, then you're starting to.
Yeah, right. Then you're getting into the next guy. But again, it's a very short list of human beings who have done that, who have even tried it.
Jason, thank you so much, man. I love having our chats and our conversations, dude. I mean, I saw Zonka and I saw your comment. I'm like, I think the big Syracuse back could still do it, man. I mean, he got into that guy's ass ripping it, because that Dolphin team does get a little bit disrespecting. Those players get heat because they're very guarded on the undefeated, and I would be too.
Yeah,
I know many of those guys.
I don't mind it.
I love that team. I'm a fan of that team because I grew up around it.
I am a fan of that team,
and I played around the Dolphins when I was at UM. So
yeah, don't ever disrespect them to their face.
Oh, no way.
They will get in your ass.
Dude, Bonacani back in the day used to really get fired up. And I'm very close to Manny Fernandez. And Manny Fernandez, too, he's another one of those guys, man, from that no-name. Those guys get very, very heated when you start talking. Here's the greatest team, this Patriots team. We're like, yeah, we'll get this. Try this. No one ever beat us. And you go, well, okay, that might be it.
It's a pretty good argument. It's a pretty good argument.
Absolutely. Jason, thank you, my friend.
All right, dude. We'll see you.
You got it. That is the great Jason Cole. Don't forget, he is a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter. And we are, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, we have our friend who is a diehard Washington Commander fan. Well, the Commanders are week 11. We're going to do them next. That's who the Eagles will play. And I'm going to give you my overview of the Washington Commanders. It's probably going to be more saltier than you think. We'll reset everything. Xander, where are we in the likes, by the way, as we go into the power hour here? I saw somebody say we're stuck on 145. Let's see where we are. We're at 150. We're 50 away, folks, from another 200 day. 50 away. I know we'll get there. We'll make a rally. Who is the quarterback in Washington? Be a good question here. At least the Cowboys did not have to wait 57 years to win a Super Bowl like the Eagles have. Ultra Cowboy, I love the rivalries that we have in here. Hit the like button. Power Hour coming up. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. We're over 165 already. You guys have already kicked it up at 166. Very good. Okay, we are 34 away. Thank you, guys. We're trying to get to 200 by the top of the hour. Keeping our streak going. Guys are fantastic. I'm going to get to the Washington Commanders here in a minute. The Week 11 opponent for the Philadelphia Eagles. I do want to start reading some of these here. Let's see here. Question for the Eagle fans. Do you buy the Hurts jersey for the player or the number that represents your Super Bowl wins? What's that one? Wow. There's some trash talking going on in here. Whoa, my God. Hey, show me your little monkey for my like. How's that? Is that good? There you go, Bruce. There's your monkey. You wanted the monkey, I gave it to you. Salute to the this is good. It's Cowboy Eagle. It's Cowboy Eagle hate here. Salute to the Cowboy fans who celebrate Super Bowls when their mom was at the Playboy Mansion. Okay, we're taking a definite turn for the worst here. Hey, Bruce, are you from Philly? Tell me where you're from, Bruce. Bruce wanted me to give him my monkey. Show me my monkey. So I did. Bruce, are you... Oh, my God. You guys, man. Hey, No, El Paso, Texas, homie. Home of the hot sauce, the picante. I've been else. Hey, Bruce, let me put it to you this way. So my wife, who's from Texas, we drove through El Paso. We stopped. I never had an enchilada or a burrito in my life. Don't ask me why. I only ate Italian food. We're driving through El Paso. We stop at this diner place. That was a dive. My wife goes, we're going in. We got a tamale and something else. I never ate this shit. I never ate Mexican food. You kidding me? Italian kid eating Mexican food? Not happening. Holy shit, was I deprived. Holy cow. Hey, Bruce, am I right? El Paso, man. You know what's crazy about it? It's like the first city before you see the hills and the mountains going into the Rockies. They got this one with this big antenna on it. And you're driving, and the border's right there to the left when you're on I-10. And, dude, the Mexican food is so spectacular. Oh, we eat it as much as we can now. I love Mexican and Cuban food. When I got a chance to go down to Miami, I ate Cuban food. I'd never had it. Oh, but when I went to the Cowboys and I started eating Mexican food, and then when I met my wife, holy cow. Big dish for Big Sills. What? I'm Mexican. That is insulting. Hey, wait a minute here. I love Italian food and eat as much as I can when I go to Italy every year. Senor, the pizza's a little different over there, isn't it? Mexican, New Mexico green chili. Oh, I'll try that, Jalen. I'll try that. Texican. No, pepperoni. I know it's weird. Like the Sicilian pizza's different there. Seals, we got the oldest authentic Italian restaurant in the country on Ninth Street, Rouse. Has anyone eaten at Rouse? Because that just made my mouth water. Okay, Bruce. Got you, brother. He's like this. Sills, El Paso food, Mexican food. Little different. We make Mexican food. They make Italian. They make American Mexican food. Got it. Sicilian, thick and yummy. Well, I thank you very much, Barb. I try to lose a little more weight for you, but I'll do the best I can. Yeah. Sills, I prefer Sicilian pizza, not the cardboard stuff. Thin crust. Yeah, 40, right? I got you there, brother. Dude, I love Texas. I do. Texas is a great state. Some of the best looking chicks I've ever seen in my life. I married my old lady there. I mean it. Unbelievable. You work at where? You work at Applebee's? And this chick's like a model. You're like, okay, yeah. And there's like 100 of them in there. Hey, thank you, Barb. Hey, Barb, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I wrote down CBS's worst 5 teams in the league. And I got my worst 5 teams in the league. Unfortunately, they're the same teams, just in different order here. CBS has the bottom 5 of the league is this. Patriots, number 1. I agree. I think it's the worst roster in football. Number 2, they got the Panthers. I got the Broncos. Number 3, they have the Broncos. I have the Giants. Number 4, they have the Giants. I have the Panthers. And both of us have the Raiders at number 5. So my 5 worst teams: Patriots 1, Broncos 2, Giants 3, Panthers 4, Raiders 5. CBS has Patriots 1, Panthers 2, Broncos 3, Giants 4, and Raiders 5. Giants have a good D-line. They do. Their backers aren't that bad. I like Thibodeau and I like Burns on the other side, and I love the nose. But outside of that, Yale, they have the good left offensive tackle, but it's sporadic on that roster, especially in the front 22. Okay? Especially in the front 22. Okay. Week 11 opponent. I wonder if our friend James Jones is in here, who is a fan of the Washington Commanders. Wonder if he's in here. Because we're going to go Commanders here. Neil is make or break. Yep. Agreed. Gigantes. Like the Gigantes. Well, I did as a kid. Commandos. Sills, the Green Bay Packers are the only team to have a serial killer. Look at Kyle going back. He's referencing the I-5 killer. It's true. He was a serial killer. The I-5 killer was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. You didn't think I knew that, did you, Kyle? Big Sills may not be a very good reader with some of your posts. Okay? However, I do read. Hey, Rob, how'd you like that pizza in Sicily? I heard it's thick crust. I got to check out that 9th Avenue restaurant in Philly. Last time I was in Philly, I didn't get a cheesesteak. That won't happen again. I miss when the Redskins were the Redskins. Funny you should say that. We're going to start this right now here. Only pizza I tried was in Naples and Rome. Hey, senor, did you like it? Because to me, the pizza capital of the world is New Haven, Connecticut. There's no better pizza in America than in New Haven, Connecticut. You could pick any one of the 25 places. You could pick any one of the 25 places in New Haven. It's the best pizza on the planet. I heard Italian pizza is whack. I heard the same thing. I've not eaten it over there. Millie, I don't think there's a better place. Never been to Connecticut? You should travel 95 a little more, senor. You should travel 95 a little more. It's right outside your doorway. Okay? Going to Philly in like a month to visit my bro, Connecticut. Hey, James, just really great pizza in Connecticut for some reason, especially around the New Haven area. Seals, you haven't tried the Rob Ellis special grandma slice at Harbortown Pizza. I would try it. Well, I don't know. Maybe I don't think Xander's going to be driving me any closer. Oh, God, I don't know why I do this. And I wonder why. Hey, and I wonder why. All right. Let me get to the Week 11 opponent. The Washington Commanders. Okay. How many people believe the Commanders are going to be good this year? How many people believe the Commanders will be good? Try Joe's Steaks on Torresdale Avenue the next time, Sills. We'll do, man. We'll do. Sarah Topino's in Boston is better than New Haven. Okay. I'll try that. Commandos are looking like they can turn it around. Yep. Forest Hill. Hubbardtown is Subway. Is a suburb. Very nice place to live. What is there to do in Connecticut? Dude, I love where I grew up in Stamford. I lived on the water. You guys are making me get my accent back. I hate it in a way. You're making me get my accent back. I've done a lot of work to get rid of that thing. I live down by the water, okay? You're not even talking to me really, and you're making me go back to my accent a little bit. But I grew up down in the Cove where all the paisans are down, and I grew up on the water. And I grew up in a fish area, and I was 35 minutes to Midtown. 35 minutes to Midtown. We get on the train, we drive down to New York, go up to Banksville, go up to – I loved where I was raised. I love it. I love where I was raised. Go up to Montauk. You can go up to Mystic Seaport. Right there across the coast there on the water. It's fantastic, man. I would not want to have been raised anywhere else other than in Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut. No way. I loved it. I just love where I was raised. All you Connecticut guys end up in Maine during the summer. I've never been to Maine. My uncle moved there. So who won yesterday, Philly or Mark? Philly 500 killed them. Are you kidding me? Connecticut has some very quiet places. Yeah, like Darien, New Canaan. Hey, in Darien and New Canaan, let me just put it to this way. A treehouse goes for about $500K. Okay, a little treehouse goes for about $500K. Hit the like button. Let's get to the Commanders. So here's my take on the Commanders. You know, I'm going to say something that's just going to be totally not. How am I going to put it? How am I going to say this to you? This is not going to be politically correct. You ready? I think the Washington Commanders lost the team's identity when they went to the Washington Commanders and got away from the Washington Redskins. I get it. I know why. But to me, doesn't the Washington Commanders, don't they come off like an expansion team? When I see the Washington, and somebody brings up to me the Washington Commanders, if you're a fan of that franchise in the history of that team's, how are you recognizing the history of the team. When you can't even say Redskins, that logo and helmet was one of the most iconic helmets of all time. I mean, look, even if you wanted to go to the R, remember the old yellow lids they had with the R? Remember they had that? Then they had the other one with the spear in it. If you wanted to get away from the logo with the red-faced Indian, I get it. But let me just put it to you this way. Florida State Seminoles didn't change their logo or didn't change their name. Why couldn't the Redskins keep it? No one had an issue with it. Here, and I'll even say this to you. When you're cutting a check for the National Indian Society of Better Life, whatever, I made that up, and you're giving them a $20 million check so that you can sell $200 million in merchandise, what's the deal? They look like an expansion team. Hey, great call, Michael. The Atlanta Braves, they still do the tomahawk chop. The Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, calling someone a chief who's Indian? Hey, chief. I mean, I don't know. That might borderline today's people in society getting their panties in a bind. Right? Hey, chief. Why are you calling me chief? Why? Because I'm a Native American? Kind of a slanderous cut. You can make anything up if you want. I just personally, for me, think that the Washington Redskins, I think they lost their identity. And I think their fans, I mean, it's like an expansion football team. You know? I'd rather have you go back to that soccer thing that you were doing. Washington team. I actually didn't think that was awful. What the Commanders? Commanders, you know what that is? It's You know what I think about this, Yale, for me? Can I tell you what I think the Washington Redskins should be called? I don't think he should be called the Washington Commanders anymore. You know what I think he should be called? The Washington Compromisers. That's why this is not going to be a politically correct comment. You should be called the Washington Compromisers. Because you compromised and bent. Because you know why? Your owner was an asshole who was doing illegal things behind the scenes. It's why he didn't fight hard enough. Yeah, they sound like an XFL team. Right. And so, hey, Commanders versus the Cowboys. Cowboys, Redskins. You circled that game every year. You just circled that game every year. I don't know. Right? The team formerly known as Prince. All right. I believe the 24 team, I think they're going to see a huge impact when it comes to winning ball games, and I think they're going to have a great resurgence. I think they've done some really good things. I think the team has a shot to go from last to first in the NFC East this year. Do I think they will? Probably not. But I think they're good. And I think they've made significant moves. Jaden Daniels, I think is the best quarterback that was in this previous draft. I think they got this year's version of C.J. Stroud. Dan Quinn, the new head coach, did the smartest thing he could possibly do. And that, to me, was hire a guy like Cliff Kingsbury. He did the reverse of what Sean McVay did. Sean McVay is going to call the plays wherever he coaches, LA or wherever. And he's going to hire the best coordinator he possibly can to take care of his defense, whether it be a Raheem Morris or it be, hey, isn't it crazy? The last two coordinators that Sean McVay has had, one's now the head football coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And didn't Wade Phillips just become the coach of the year in the UFL? He just won coach of the year Those are his last two defensive coordinators, right? Those are his last two coordinators on defense. Wade Phillips was just named the coach of the year in that UFL, and Raheem was just named the head football coach in Atlanta. Okay? Angelo goes, they're going to try to censor you. Angelo, they've been trying to censor me for 34 years. Okay? Seals, you think Tyreek is better than Adams? No. I'll take Devontae Adams all night over Tyreek Hill. He's a deep threat guy. You look at his touchdown totals, not awful high. And I'll put this point to you too. Man, Kansas City's better without him. How can that be? Kansas City is a better football team without Tyreek Hill. You didn't think that, did you? Okay. Sills, we're at 180. Very good. Very good, guys. Let's get it up. 20 more to go for 200. I think they got a bunch of really nice pieces on defense. That linebacking core is outstanding. They've got a good defense. Like I said, in that front seven. Could be the most improved team in the National Football League. Okay? Could be the most improved. I think Chicago and Arizona are also going to be improved football teams. But it's going to come down once again to the quarterback. So I've got the Washington Redskins. Sorry. Winning between 8 and 10 ball games. I think Washington is going to be a much improved football team. I really do. DFW, secondary is weak. Rest of the team is upgraded. I think the O-line's still a problem for me too. I think the O-line's probably a little bit suspect too. O-line and back end, two things you can't have, right? Do you think Dan Quinn's to be a good head coach, and what makes you believe he's going to be a good head coach if you do believe that? Angelo, I think it's the assistant coaches that he hires. If he hires quality assistant coaches, and Kingsbury can be a guy, in my opinion, who gets a head coaching job this coming offseason, and he has done really great things with Jaden Daniels, they're going to win a lot of games. And that job's going to become a very, very enticing job for an upcoming coordinator because Dan Quinn's going to hire. You see, here's the problem that Nick has compared to Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn's going to hire the best coordinator he can. He is. Nick, if he loses Kellen, that's an organizational decision. It's a committee decision. Owner, GM, some influence of the coach. And that's how they're going to go through the process again. Like Xander says, if the Eagles win 11-12, how about this? Do you agree? If Jalen Hurts throws for $4,000, 25 touchdowns, they win 12 games, and say they get bounced in the divisional round, in a close one, 26-24, does Nick keep his job? Absolutely. They win the East, they win 12, they go 1-1, they get knocked out in the divisional round or the NFC title game. Well, if they win the division, they're not going to be in a wild card. Let's just say they win 12. They get knocked out in the NFC title game, and they're 1-1. Okay? Jalen has a pretty good year, and it looks like Kellen Moore's done some good things. There's no question there'll be a new coordinator in the building. Okay? There's not a chance in the world Kellen Moore will stay when he'll get an opportunity potentially to coach the Buffalo Bills. And by the way, look at what LJ says. Look at what LJ just said. Is that the behavior of what the Eagles have ever done with assistant coaches on what bullshit he's putting out there? Have they ever paid a coordinator to stay in the building more money so that he won't leave for a head coaching job? Name me one. I'll wait. What coordinator have they done that with? Vic's not getting a head coaching job. He's already been fired from one. And no one's going to hire Vic Fangio. Nobody as a head coach. He's 100 years old. No one's hiring him. This guy just made that up. So he thinks the Eagles are going to come in and pay him more money than Nick Sirianni to keep him and entice him, and somehow say because they value the quarterback position. I mean, and by the way, always remember, Kellen Moore was the second choice. Cliff Kingsbury was the first choice. Cliff had a 3-year contract in front of him, and when he couldn't bring in his own assistant coaches, not that he wanted to take out Stoutland, they balked. And they hired a guy. Get this. So LJ is saying this to you. A guy who's been fired twice in a row had leverage against the Eagles that, hey, if you don't sign me with the understanding that I'm the heir apparent to Nick, I'm not taking this job. When he's been fired twice. Oh, I forgot. I thought Nick was the greatest coach in the history of the Eagles, according to him. Fantastic. Dan, KC is not better without Tyreek Hill. Yeah, they are. They've just won 2 back-to-back Super Bowls. They don't need them. And they're cheaper. I don't know. They won 2 Super Bowls without him. How are they not better? How are they not better? How are they not better? Nick over Doug is nuts. Flexing. Oh, no. He loves Nick and is the greatest coach in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he would take him over Andy Reid, too. So, again, you can say whatever you want, but our good friend LJ here, all you need to know is that he would rather have Nick as his head coach than Andy Reid or Doug Peterson because they lost or won only 4 games on the way out. And one's going to the Hall of Fame. Jalen was a late 3rd round prediction based on most scouting department rankings. No? Yeah, he ended up going in a 2nd, but he was never signed or drafted to be the starting quarterback. I don't give a shit what that bookkeeper tells you. You had just given Carson Wentz a $38 million annual deal. You were not looking to bring Jalen Hurts in as a starting quarterback. Like I said, I don't care what that bookkeeper tells you. That wasn't happening. Okay? I thought 1 Super Bowl does not matter as much. It matters to coaches because that's what they're based on, coaching Super Bowls. They don't play. So you think that a Super Bowl matters more to a coach or the same as a coach to a player? The only thing the coaches are gauged on is wins and losses. Players are paid by money. Coaches are paid by wins. It's the only people in the building, senor, that are actually paid for wins are coaches. Players aren't paid on wins. Coaches are. Eagle fans, let's see here. Then Nick is a great because Jalen Hurts is not a great quarterback with subpar stats. Then Nick is great because Jalen Hurts is not a great quarterback Once again, dude, Nick is not a coach. You're actually confusing a real coach with a babysitter. He's not a coach. John Harbaugh and Mike Tomlin are coaches. Nick is an imposter. He's like a guy who, he's an impersonator of a head coach. He's a complete impersonator. He looks like the part, but he's not, because he doesn't have any autonomy in the building. He has no say at all. See, when people compare Nick to Tomlin and John Harbaugh, you're actually comparing people who have say in their building and don't have to ask the owner for anything and make game day decisions on their own, not having to run it through a committee. Let me ask you this. Do you think there's one player on that football team Nick Sirianni's picked or asked for? You think there's one player on that team he asked for? And asked for the quarterback. Not a chance in hell he asked for AJ. What would he know? You think he helped in the drafting of Devontae? Not a chance. So you think he had something to do with Cam Jurgens being drafted? You think he had something to do with Micah Becton being drafted or being recruited to come and play in Philly? No, that's a good one, Senor. I'm going to probably, you know what, Senor? I think he had some influence in that because the head coach at Toledo and him at Fork Union were roommates. I think there's, you're right. Quinyon Mitchell, he may have had some say in or some intel that helped him. I would say that's true. Yeah. I would say that's true. Good one, Senor. Yes, sir. You're not going to not call your best friend and go, hey, what's the kid like? The only coach that develops players on the Eagles is Stoutland. Completely true. Tyler Smith beat the hell out of Jalen Carter last year. In Arlington, he annihilated him. It was ugly. Absolutely. If I were Jalen Carter, I would really hopefully that tape got burned because he got killed in that game. The Arlington game, there in the DFW Metroplex area, he got killed. Knocked on his ass, knocked off the ball. Wasn't pretty. Nick asked for a new set of knee pads. Yeah, that's for sure. I got you there. Thank you, guys. I hear Mr. Rome. He played insane division as AJ saw AJ wide a year. Okay. Well, if he saw AJ play, AJ wasn't shit in Tennessee. 63 catches a year, 900 yards. What did he see that was so mind-numbing? Those grand passes to him from Ryan Tannehill? You're making it sound like he had great numbers in Tennessee. They were pedestrian. Hunter Renfrow had better numbers than what A.J. Brown had. Howie saw the underutilization of him. Dude, he didn't have great numbers in Tennessee. Twice a year, he had 60 catches, 62 catches. He wasn't that productive. 3 catches. Wait a minute. Let's do this. So what do you have? 4 catches a game? And you thought he was a monster? How was he a monster in Tennessee when he didn't put up any numbers? Those numbers didn't come up until he got to Philadelphia. He had very average to mediocre numbers. Like I said, Hunter Renfrow was better. He was good. They just had the best running the ball in Derrick Henry. Yeah, but they didn't know. No. Millie, the Eagles knew that Tennessee didn't know what they had. Tennessee didn't know what he had. He's trying to tell me that Nick Sirianni knew that the player was great when the player didn't do anything great in Tennessee, ever. How would he know? Never knew it. Eagle fans love to talk about their Super Bowl, but won't praise Doug Peterson. Crazy. Doug's play calling with Foles won you that Super Bowl. Hey, DFW, isn't that crazy? That Doug Peterson's play calling in that Super Bowl, he out-schemed Bill Belichick. And Nick took a backup quarterback and beat Brady with him. Is that not the greatest coaching job in the history of the Philadelphia area? Ask yourself this. That was the greatest single-handed coaching job by any Eagle coach in the history of your organization. That Doug Peterson could take a backup quarterback, which he was, and out-scheme Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and win a Super Bowl against the Patriots when the Patriots were the reigning dynasty and the greatest dynasty in NFL history. And you'd rather have Nick Sirianni. Better yet, I'd rather have Nick over Andy. Because he's 34-17. Let me put it to you this way. If you had to win a Super Bowl, would Nick Sirianni be on your sidelines? Or would Doug Peterson be on your sidelines? All you have to do is answer that. Who would you want on your sidelines? Let me guess. Nick. Tyler Smith wears number 73. Great player. How do you feel about Jeff Hafley, Packers DC, will pan out? And Xander's like, that's a laughable question. I know. Let me see it. Okay. Hey, look at LJ giving it to you. We were one drive away from winning another one, fatty. You never, ever made the playoffs. I didn't know this question was about me. How'd I get involved in that question? What's it got to do with me, dickbag? What's that got to do with me? I asked you if you had to win a Super Bowl, who would you want as your head coach on the sidelines? You want Nick. I'll take Doug. Okay? Greatest coach in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles. Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni. Oh, there is a chance that Steen, Becton, and Keegan all ball out, which would be awesome. Dude, Sydney, please. I'm going to tell you this. If you do that and you pan out with Trevor Keegan, Tyler Steen, and Becton all pan out, that's it. That's it. That's it. I've had it. The Eagles can't keep producing all these linemen. You can't keep doing that. No. How many? Hey, 9 more likes, guys. 9 more likes and gals. No, yes, Stoutland Hall of Fame. Yes. AJ showed up on tape, not in the box score. Last 7 games, he didn't show up. That's Xander's boy, he's worthy of crying about his contract, and he gave it to him, How you doing? I mean, and then he says he wants to be the greatest offensive player in the history of the National Football League. How about a champion? That'd be nice, but hey, you know what? I can't ask for everything. I can't have everything, right? Right, A.J. Owens? I can't have everything. That's all right, though. I love AJ Owens. Yes, so do I, man. I think he's going to be a content machine this year, especially when those footballs start getting overthrown and underthrown. Oh, yes, sir. Sills, what's your prediction for the NFC East? I think the teams are going to be down this year. I think the Eagles are between a 7 and 9, 10 win team. I just don't see it yet on defense. I got to see it. I'm not giving the coaching staff and the front office the benefit of the doubt. I think they'll panic again. Hey, you want to hear something, guys? I really don't think it's got anything to do with your talent now. I think it's got everything to do with the people that run the talent. Aren't you more concerned with that? Here, let's do this question. Aren't you more concerned with the people that run the talent than the talent itself? Right? Aren't you more concerned with that? That's my concern. My concern is not even so much Jalen. I kind of know who he is. You know what's crazy? I know what he is. If he was being coached by, if Kyle Shanahan was his coach and he had to say, do you think Kyle Shanahan would really coach him like they're coaching him now? Or do you think he'd go back and do what they were going to do to Trevor or to Trey Lance? They want a player like Jalen in San Francisco. That's why they drafted Trey Lance. They wanted a player like him, like Jalen Hurts. And when he couldn't do it, they moved on from him and went back to traditional drop back. There's not a chance in hell that Kyle Shanahan would coach him the way the Eagles are coached. Do you believe that? They put 3 number 1s up for Jalen Hurts' style of play. Think about it, right, Xander? They used 3 1s on a player who played like Jalen. And he bombed. They wanted him. And if Kyle Shanahan was his coach, they're not putting some sort of new offense in for him, the 95. They're going back to 22 and running jet sweeps. That just shows you how bad it is and how bad I think that hasn't been addressed. Biden reads defenses. Wait, Jalen reads defenses like Biden reads a teleprompter. Oh my God. I just asked a question about the Packers and you don't answer. So what is this? Do I get a refund? This is a scam. Joe, I'll answer it. I'm sorry. I think they have a lot of talent in their secondary. I think Jeff has a good reputation. I think the real hire was in Jacksonville. That coordinator that was down there that was hired. He's not bad. They moved off of Joe Brady, right? I love Matt LaFleur. He proved it to me. He's a good coach. I think Green Bay's got the 3rd best roster, and I think they've got great coaches in Green Bay. So to me, I think you're going to see more pressure. Not conventional pressure, but you'll see more pressure coming out of that. And you'll see multiple fronts and multiple looks, in my opinion. I look, they got good coaches up there. They really do. All right. Hit the like button. Going to take a quick time out here. Where are we right now in the likes? Where are we in the likes here? Yes, that's who it is. Ryan Nielsen. Ryan Nielsen is the hire of the offseason. He's spectacular. Just a great guy. 204. Wonderful, guys. So to you, my guy, see you week 1. Thank you. Joe, it's going to be a hell of a ball game. I think the Packers win that game. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
Hi, I'm Jim Muehlbronner, Managing Partner at Del Valle Insurance Group. Give us a call. We're a local, knowledgeable agency, not an 800 number. Go Birds!
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Ron Kittle. Chicago White Sox led the American League in home runs. Played for the Texas Rangers. Played for the White Sox, I'll say. And I think he led the American League in home runs. Am I right? I'm a baseball guy. I'll always be a baseball guy. So anyway, somebody said if I was dude, I'm a cannoli. What are you talking about? Danish? Danishes? You make I'm Italian guy. Danishes? What is that, like jelly donuts? Nick Sirianni eats jelly donuts. He's Northern Italian. He's a Frenchman. What do you want out of me? I don't. Hey, all right, guys, you guys have been great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming aboard, man. You guys are wonderful again. Hey, a bear claw, kind of get, like Tommy Boy says, a little wedged in here a little bit. You know what I mean? They get a little wedged. So, one of the greatest movies of all time. Thank you. All right. Joe, Xander, thank you very much. 2 to 6 tomorrow. God bless you guys. And we'll see you on the flip side.